Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode number 27 of the VonDubCast. Really fun episode here with my buddy Evan. A little bit sports and video game heavy on the start, and then we get into a little bit more kind of business stuff and life stuff later on, and kind of what we learned. He's another guest that I met in Lister, and very special guy, and I'll kind of get into more on him in a little bit, maybe towards the end of this intro. But I wanted to run an idea by you guys that I've had for a long time and just kind of always was percolating in my head. When I started this podcast, I knew I wanted to do kind of solo episodes in a way, and then also these interviews that I've been doing. And I feel like the interviews were less scary because it was less on me, and I could kind of, pick the brains of other people and then insert myself where I can. But a lot of the times it just ends up me overpowering the guest because I want to talk about myself a lot, but sometimes I feel like that takes away from what the other person is saying, and I'm just trying to get my own thoughts out there and that sort of thing. So I always wanted to do a solo podcast, but I don't work very well just talking. I think you guys can tell by these intros. It's a little, I'm getting better at it. I'm trying to get good just talking on the mic like this in front of nobody, but it'd be nice to have someone to kind of bounce things off of. And I really like, there's a couple podcasts, Below the Belt podcast, Theo Vaughn's, where they have kind of a producer that comes on and brings some current events and just will be somebody to bounce things off of. So I was thinking of doing maybe eventually I want to get to, having somebody that's solid there every week that I can do that with. And in searching for that, I figured I could just start by having, different people come in and take a crack at it every once in a while, and just have them be special Friday release episodes. And then if we find somebody that we want to do it with, or that I have a good connection with, and that's where I'm going to start, is just kind of going to maybe some of the past guests and asking if they'd want to take a chance at it. Like, of course, I'd give a bunch of topics for current events, MMA, sports, video games, and then a mix of that, whoever that person was, things that they saw in the news that were cool, or even funny videos and stuff like that could be sent over. Of course, in person would be easier because we could watch them together and you could watch the reaction. You probably couldn't post them. As well as, once I get a visual component to it, there's some, sometimes you can get away with public domain and sharing videos if they're from news sites and that, and we can kind of take the podcast to the next level. But there's just certain people that I know listen quite regular, and they're always sending me pictures every week showing me that they're listening, and I think a couple of those people could be really good at this too, and people that I already have a connection with. I'm looking at you, Travis Malbuff. Like people like Travis, who's every week just sending me pictures, and I know he's a really funny guy and would be cool to jump on. It's going to be funny for him to hear this when he's listening to it. If he's listening to this, I shouldn't get cocky. But yeah, so that's kind of the idea I had, and I wanted to just kind of put it out there. Again, this might be something way longer down the road, but again, just like the sponsorships that I said last week, I know it's something that I want to bring on later, but if you don't start bringing it up and start, putting the work in to get things set up for them, they'll never happen. So just putting them out there, that's an idea of a kind of a weekly, and also it'd be shorter, it wouldn't be 3 hours. It'd be maybe an hour, maybe an hour and a half tops of just kind of going over quick catch up, how our weeks are going, maybe a little bit of banter conversation, and then, get into the current events and go over things, right? And I think that would be very easy because, easy. There's almost MMA fights every week, and going over the card and seeing what that is, that'd be an easy one, right? And I would almost, give you cookie cutter things to look for to bring to the podcast, and just the only thing that you'd really have to do is work on is find your own things that you find interesting that you'd like to get my take on. I could do it myself and look up these current events, but then you're thinking about it and you already know what you want to say on the things. It has to be kind of in the moment. That's why I need somebody to kind of I'll give direction on what types of things, and obviously if it's a current event, I might already know about it, but I think to have it thrown to you in the moment and get my live reaction to what it is a lot more entertaining. It's what I see on a lot of podcasts that they have that are, very well produced and have people on staff for it. I really like the look at those, and it's something I'd like to try. So before I can get to the point where I can just pay somebody to do that, or and not to say that I couldn't, if somebody wanted to jump in and take it a little more serious than what I'm describing here and actually put the effort into it, I definitely look to pay for it too, because I think that pays dividends down the road. And like I said, that would be something that I could easily get sponsored by just a small company. If it was, depending what the ask was, if it's $100,000 a year, $5,000 an episode, probably couldn't. But if it's something small, I could probably get that covered through an advertisement, right? Because things like that, I was trying to stay away from advertising so hard because I didn't want to feel like a sellout and was just trying to really concentrate on the content. But if it's going right back into the podcast like this, I don't really have any hangups, any qualms with it. So yeah, that's kind of the idea I wanted to throw out there. That'll be what this episode is brought to you by, is that idea. And please reach out to me. And also, if you think that any of the past episodes you heard a guest on that you really like the kind of back and forth with and the relationship that we have, and you think they'd be good to take a crack at it, send me a message, because I'd love to hear that, and then I can reach out to them and kind of pitch the idea past them. I already have a couple ideas of past guests. I'm probably, once this episode releases, I'll reach out to a few people and just say, hey, can you listen to the intro of this? I have a position there. I'd like you to give it a crack if you'd ever be willing, and kind of go from there. So yeah, that's the idea I got. And then today's episode, Evan Gerrard, he's very similar to me in the podcast. I saw this the first time I met him, but I don't think he really ever realized it. I think it was just kind of the dynamic of, in Lister, I was a year older, and I know that sounds so silly, but it's very much tiered, like this kind of the old school thing you'd see on TV, like the seniors and the juniors and all that. I don't even remember what they all stand for, sophomore, but it is very apparent. So I don't think he saw it as much, but as soon as he came into Lister in my second year and he was a first year on the floor, it was very apparent that he was a special kid. He's so funny and so quick-witted and so unoffendable, which is something that I just love being around. Like, you're not gonna piss him off. He can take any joke, he can throw it back at you, and he's also extremely capable and extremely intelligent. I just think he's going to do really big things with whatever path he ends up on. It's going to be special. So those are kind of the people I'm looking to have on this podcast, even if they're haven't done anything all that crazy yet. Like, not to, I know that kind of came out wrong. Didn't be offensive on that. I think Evan does amazing things. And I just wanted to say that in this intro, because I think I tried to on the podcast, but Evan's very much like me, and we don't do well with compliments. So, it was hard to kind of get into some of those things, but I do want to discuss, and maybe in the future we'll get him back on to discuss that. But yeah, we talk lots of video games. Evan is the one that got me into a few video game addictions in the past. He got me into League of Legends, which I'm sure you heard me describe, and it is pretty video game heavy at the start. So if you do need to skip through, I won't be offended if that's not up your alley. There's a bit more adult conversations, as much of an adult conversation as me and Evan can have probably later in the podcast, and a little bit more in-depth kind of stuff. But I really had a good time, and I just can't be worrying about what people are going to want to listen to if it's a bit esoteric. It's what interests me, and that's what my favorite podcasters do. It's just let go and just have fun in the things that entertain you. So I really enjoyed this episode, and I hope you guys enjoy it too. Like I say every time, if you could give me a follow on the VonDubCast Instagram and Twitters. Got a few other kind of things in the works, working on getting the YouTube option up and running. What else? Yeah, no, that's about it. And please, if you do enjoy this, like I say every week, please tell a friend. That's how these things spread. The more word of mouth, spreads this podcast, the bigger it grows, the bigger guests I can get on, the more things I can do, and the better content I can create. So yeah, thanks guys, and enjoy episode 27. All right. Thanks, Evan. Thanks for being here. You're one of the guests I was really excited about. Haven't got to catch up with you in a long time. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, no problem. I'm happy to be on.
Yeah. So what have you been up to? I probably haven't caught up with you in 3 or 4 years, other than a couple texts here and there. You've graduated now, and you were in business, hey?
Yes. Yeah. So I graduated 2 years ago with a BCom in operations management. Yeah.
Operations management. Oh yeah. So how did you like that degree?
Well, fuck. It was interesting. It's not really what it sounds like. There's kind of like two streams to it.
Yeah.
There's like the supply chain and like supply chain management side, and there's like a business analysis side and data analytics side. Yeah. I like that stuff. So I'd say I enjoyed it. I got to do a lot of that stuff that I liked, and now I'm getting pretty good at it, I think. So
is that what you're doing for work now? You got a job kind of in the same vein as what your major was?
Pretty close. I kind of started there via that, like through I took a course through the university, and it was like a consulting course basically. And I worked for this company, and I made them this tool that was supposed to lower the costs.
Right.
It actually ended up never fucking working, but they liked me enough anyway that they hired me to do like a summer project. To forecast their revenues. And
cool.
Did that for a month, and then they just kind of slotted me in somewhere else because they hired me on full time to do some shit I've never done before. And
that's
the rest
awesome.
is history. I've just kind of bounced around in there for a while.
Oh, that's so funny because that's something that I was gonna say too. Just sometimes when I ask people on, their response is, "Well, I don't know. I haven't done anything, or I don't know what I like. Why do you want me on?" And there's certain people, and you're one of those people, and I'm gonna have to suck your dick a bit here, so you might get a little awkward. But I was so impressed with you from the first time, and just maybe to take people back. So me and Evan met. I was going into my second year in Lister. I was coming back to Lister. I was going to be a dodgeball exec. I was going to run that dodgeball league that you guys have heard about a million times on here in Lister. And I was absolutely devastated a couple weeks before move-in because I had heard that I was going to be in Henday Tower. And it's so funny for people to probably hear that now because I loved living in Henday so much. But at the time, there were such tower rivalries. In my first year, I was in Kelsey Tower, and then I went into Henday, and I was pretty upset about it, but fit in pretty well. Really liked my floor. And then we got paired with 8 Henday, which is where Evan came in as a first year for dodgeball that year. So probably maybe 2 weeks into the year, we got to know each other pretty quick. And right away, I recognized a lot of myself, I think, in you, Evan, and I was really excited. It was so much fun to have such a good group of first years that were so ready to just do whatever, whether it was dodgeball, whether it was video games, whether it was drinking, a lot of drinking. You guys were just all so excited to do whatever was on the table for that day. And I really enjoyed it. And I just think, what are the odds of a floor like more specifically 8 Henday for you guys, but what are the odds of just all that whole guy wing that you guys had being that close and all such similar people and get along that well? I just think the odds of that have to be astronomical. Hey?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like we're all still friends. Like all of 7-8 lots of 7-8 Henday are all still like close friends. Like some of my best, all of my best like friendships from university are for like 8 Henday, 7-8 Henday.
Yeah.
So like it's pretty wild. And I was like, I've talked to other people about that and said like, I remember Mike like Bardwell actually brought it up with me once. He's like, yeah, like that's pretty lucky. Like I hate it. Like I don't know if he said he hated his floor, but he was like, yeah, like just not a lot of like people he still hangs out with, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
And that was I did 4 years there, and I loved every floor I was on, but there was definitely different years that you were closer with your floor, and sometimes you'd be closer with other floors, right? And it was just so funny to have not only you guys be so close, but then for both of our floors to be so close like that, and to keep it going after the fact. And something that I noticed in you, and kind of something I was curious to ask you about, Evan, but I noticed right away that you were very multifaceted. You liked sports, but you liked video games, but you liked all those things. Was that something that you always grew up with? Because that was something that I saw in myself, and I think that's what I recognized in you so quickly, that we could talk about anything, whether we wanted to talk football or League of Legends. We could kind of connect on wherever it was.
Yeah,
and that was something that I always found in myself. And growing up, I always kind of had to hide different parts of myself, because growing up in Slave Lake, it was kind of a little looked down upon for some of those parts. The jock parts were pretty open to talk about in that, but some of the other parts weren't as much. So just seeing that in you, did you find that Lister kind of opened that up for you, or did you always do that from like even high school, where you did you have that opportunity?
I'd honestly say like I had a lot of different friend groups in high school.
Okay.
Which I think helped, but also like I would say I was more on the jock side for the longest time for most of my like childhood.
Me too.
But then I busted my knee up. So I couldn't play any more sports. Like my final year, I couldn't play any football, I couldn't play any hockey or lacrosse. Right. And I think that took like that, obviously it takes a toll on you. Like that sucks, right? But then like I don't know, like when you're so competitive and like sports is your thing, you kind of lose that. It's like fuck, what do you do? And like I played a lot more video games because of it, because I was like, okay, I can still play like League, for example, is like you can get competitive at it. Like you can try hard and try and grind rank and stuff. So like that's kind of what I did. It was like a replacement for like sports. I was still always kind of a nerd, right? But like that was a big one, actually.
That was when it really kicked it off. So did you play League before you busted your knee, or is that kind of something you found after? Because that's another story I want to get into, is how you guys infected me with the addiction of League of Legends that it still afflicts me to this day.
Yeah. I played a little bit before. A friend had showed me the game, and I played it a little bit, but I don't know. I kind of dropped it. I didn't really like it. And then, like kind of like what you just said is once I hurt my knee, I picked it back up. And that's when I started this lifelong addiction to League of Legends, the cycle of uninstalling and reinstalling.
Yeah, uninstalling. I don't think I've ever met someone that has uninstalled and reinstalled League so many times as you. Sometimes it'd be like every second day I'd walk into your room and it'd be like, no, I have it uninstalled. I'm not playing there again. Okay, I'm back on.
I still do it. Like, I have it uninstalled on my computer right now, and I'm planning to install it later today. Because it's just like, it's so easy to be like, okay, I'm going to just play one quick quick game, then I'm out. But it turns into like 3, and then you've just done fucking nothing all day. So I keep it, I uninstall it just to give me that like 20 minutes that it takes to reinstall, that leeway to make better decisions, I think.
Yeah, and for those people that are listening that don't know what League of Legends is, it's an online PC game that's been out for probably over 10 years now, I'd say. Hey, and it's just they've constantly updated it, and then once a year, I don't know if it's once a year, every 2 years, they kind of do a season update and they make some kind of bigger changes to it. Overhaul maybe the items that you use or something, but it's a game that you can pick up and not play for 2 years and then come back, and the basic mechanics will be the same, but there's new champions that they've added in all the time. It's always growing, it's always expanding. So it's kind of the way I explained it to on a podcast a couple ago, Evan, was it's almost like an insurance policy if for people that want to get into video gaming and make a living out of it. I feel like something like League of Legends that is so stable in that it's always going to be there is such a cool thing to kind of fall back on, because I think that's what scares maybe parents away from wanting their kids going, like, sure, you're really good at this one video game and maybe you can pursue that, but what if it goes away in 2 years and nobody's playing it anymore, and now you're hooped, right? And I think that League of Legends is such a cool idea because you can always go back to it. And if that's your base, you can always find friend groups. And it's such a cool thing because right now I could probably haven't played a game with you boys on League, but we could hop on right now and go play again, right? And we can reconnect and you can reconnect with people. But then another thing I heard you say is, and I guess I maybe don't connect with it that much because I never got that competitive into League of Legends. I was just playing it kind of for fun. But the competitive side of it, the fact that it has a bracket and tiers and you can play, and it's such a complex game and there's such a huge user base that it allows for that competitive nature. Hey, so did you find that was a pretty good comparison for sports, and you got like your full, was that fully itching that competitiveness itch for you when you switched that, or was it kind of just a half-ass measure? Or was it competitive enough that you were really kind of finding it was just like a replacement?
Yeah, it's like kind of like what you said, like there's different champions and stuff, right? So it's a skill. Like it is actually, the game is a skill. Yeah. And like the thing that I liked about sports is like, you come home after school or something, like when you're in high school, you go like shoot some pucks, right? Like practice, right? And when you play League, like you actually do practice the characters. You get better at them. And like that was the fun part for me, was that the competitive part. Was getting better at the champs, not even the game, but just the game too, obviously, like but getting better at that, and that's what felt good, like that progress up where you're like, oh fuck, I'm starting to get good at this,
which is so funny because I'm so bad and I never get better at the game and I'm still terrible and I still enjoy it. So I mean, we must be getting something completely different out of it.
That's the thing, right? Like right now, I do not play to get better. I'm this skill level. I'm just messing around with the boys. We're just having fun. Like if I go up in rank, great. If I don't, great. But at that time, I was like trying to get better and trying to figure out like how to climb the rank, right? How to climb the ladder. So
and that's probably why I haven't gotten much better, is because I haven't really tried like to treat it as a skill. I just always treat it as a fun, right? I just hop in. I usually don't play unless Earth is out, which is right now for everyone that's listening. So yeah, and Earth is a mode that they released as an April Fool's joke when actually it was that the first Earth that year when you were in first year? I think it was.
Must have been.
And that was, they just released it as kind of an April Fool's joke where they just took the game and kind of ramped it up. They made it like really fast paced, and usually it's more tactical and more thought out. And they just kind of made a version that they only release every once in a while where it's just super fast paced. They take all the cooldowns out, and it's the funnest version of any video game I think I've ever played. Like League of Legends is a fun game on its own, but that Earth mode that they release, and now they kind of have it on a cycle. Every couple months they'll release it for 2 weeks at a time or something. And it's probably the only time I play. I just kind of mess around, maybe hop in a bot game every now and then. And then when Earth comes out, I usually play a couple games a day, usually when it's out, and jump right in. And actually, me and Kyle Rosento, who's been on this podcast before, hop back in. I hadn't played League probably since third year. So your second year was probably the last time I played. And then I didn't play until I had already graduated, moved back to GP, and actually probably till last December, I hadn't played at all. And then I decided to, just hop in, install it on my computer and see if it could run on this computer. And then I played a couple games, but didn't really play. And then reconnected with Kyle, and we thought, well, let's play a couple games and reconnect. And it was just so nice to reignite our friendship over that and kind of play League and have fun with that. And it just shows the power of what video games can be, just more than just wasting your time. Or it is a skill, and it is, a way to connect with people. And I just thought that was so cool to have that. I just think that it's such a good game, but the skill cap and the skill curve, I mean, is so high. It's so hard to learn it, but it's hard to explain to people what they'll get out of it if they do put that time in. It's hard to convince them. I think I was hard to convince, because I think you guys probably played for 2 months in Lister before I even tried to download it, and you guys convinced me to try it, because I was pretty staunchly opposed to it. I was always making fun of you guys, calling you nerds and trying to get you to come and drink. And then I think playing Drinking League was what actually pulled me into it. But
it was the Drinking League, yeah, for sure.
Oh, well, that was like the funnest version. Just every night before, I think the girls on our floors really hated that. Was our hated it. Our pre-drinking game of choice. Yeah, they were not happy
so much. They were like, guys, come over and drink in our room. And we're just all fucking 5 dudes like sitting there like shirts off because it's so hot in there, gassing beers and playing a video game like around that table in my room. Like,
and it stunk in those rooms.
Oh, they were so bad. I remember like a few times, I think it must have been like Pam like would have tried to come in there and drink with us. She's like, I can't. Like this is terrible. You guys are so anti. So like, but it was so fun. I don't know. We had a great time with it.
It was so much fun. I don't know how many nights me and Kyle just went into his room. We'd have one cable coming out of his room, and then we didn't have a long enough cable to come out of mine.
Yeah.
So the guys, the two guys, I don't want to throw their names out, but you probably know the 2 kids that had their room in between me and Kyle, we'd have a cable coming out of their room. They were so nice, they'd let us use their connection. So there'd just be cables running down the hallway of our thing. We played till 5 a.m. every night. Oh, my school marks took such a dive that year, just purely because of League of Legends, I think. Well, also just because we're booze hounds too, and I think we drank every second night that whole year. But I mean, that's besides the point, really.
Hey, we made it through, right?
Yeah. So then another piece, and that I was not proud of. Well, I was proud of you, Evan, but to watch you. So then in your second year, you ended up on my old floor, 6 Kelsey, which is where I had my first year and where my whole Lister journey started. And then my favorite little first year from my second year having, so how Lister works is if you come back as a second year, you get your little first year floors. And those are almost like your little minions or your it sounds rude to say, but they almost look up to you, and you kind of know the ropes and show them the ropes and take them under your wing. And then to watch you go back onto my old floor and just watch what you did and how good you were to those kids and showing them the ropes and showing them dukes and taking them to all the hot spots and making sure they were always well taken care of. I felt like almost like a proud father, watching how you took all those kids in and really, and kids, they're all 2 years younger now, so it's hard to say kids, but it feels that way because at that age, 1 year out of the roost under your own roof without your parents is a lot different than just coming in fresh, right? And we knew that because we had just experienced it 1 year earlier with those people that filled those roles for us, right? So how did you enjoy that role? It seemed like you really took to it, but what did you get out of that role, and what do you think how was that experience for you?
I really liked it. Yeah, I liked. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm the best role model, but I definitely try to get break people out of their shells a little bit. And, I feel like, especially dodgeball, people can take that seriously, and people it was trying to read the floor, figure out okay, what's going to be best for them. Like, how do I need to act? and then kind of adapt like what I did like with dodgeball and drinking and getting out like to them, right? And like just making sure that no one felt like super uncomfortable. Like you have to live with these people for a full year,
for sure,
for 8 months. So like trying to find that balance of like, all right, I got to force them to do some stuff with me, like, you know, come out and drink and do all that stuff, but like don't like overdo it, like don't push them over the edge and stuff, make them feel included. So I liked it. I don't know what I like. It sounds bad. I don't know what I got out of it. Like it's hard to like sum that up. Like obviously, I've learned some skills, but it's hard to put that into words. Yeah.
It sure is, and I think it's also tough to put it into words and hard to realize, because I think you enjoy it so much and you're just having so much fun with it. You don't even think that you're getting anything out of it, right? You just think like, oh, this is just so much fun. I'm enjoying the life. I'm enjoying the dodgeball, right?
Yeah.
And just going back to dodgeball, I'm sure the listeners are sick of hearing it, and I think I'm gonna have to do a count of how many guests are from Lister at this point. It seems like 90% of the guests that come on are from Lister, but we. That was the other part that was so much fun. That second year, having come in with you guys were we were good. We went into that year and we had a wicked team. You know, we came in and right from the jump, we started and we rolled through that year, and we almost won the ship, man. We fucking it was just heartbreak all year. Heartbreak. Yeah, we got second that year, and I know it probably sounds funny to people that were feeling the pain over a dodgeball league. Man, it was just an incredible experience. And how much about dodgeball did you know about? Because I know you had a couple friends that were in Lister before, and you probably had heard a thing or two. But how much were you prepared for what dodgeball was when you got there?
They kind of the people I knew who were there before me, they kind of warned me. They're like, yeah, so like it's serious. Like you go in it, like it's not what you're thinking. They're like, just like go do it. You'll enjoy it. Like it's fun. And I was like, okay. So that kind of went in with it like that attitude. And then I met yourself, Tanner, Jen, and then like when all the seconds like no, like we're and of course Tanner and you were big fucking hot shot. Big dicks out, like I was like, okay, like, oh shit. And it's, it was fun. It was a ton of fun. It's not what you expect. And I know like what you're saying, everyone who hasn't been to Lister and it's like, what the fuck are these guys going on about dodgeball for? It's different, man. It's so hard to sum it up.
It is. And I'm always so curious, and maybe I'll get your opinion on this, because I struggle with this myself. I struggle to find out, because I understand that dodgeball league was special, and it was, and it's really hard to explain to people just exactly why it was special. And I really try to determine how much of it is just the actual rule set in the space that we had that worked out perfectly, because the David Tuckey gym that we played in was just set up so perfectly for the size, for the back walls, for the rule set to take place. You couldn't play it in any other place really. And the rule sets, and it got both males and females involved. There was different roles, and neither was more important than the other. It was something you don't see in any sports, and I just think that's so special. But I wonder how much of it is actually just living together in the Lister atmosphere of just, it's almost like a sports league, but you live together and it's floor against floor, and it's almost like a giant family, but you're all in this big league together. How much do you think is actually just that sport being so much fun, just the actual rule set itself? And how much do you think was like actually the atmosphere of the towers and the history and the pride in that?
I actually really think that it, like you kind of touched on it a bit, is that it kind of got both genders really equally involved. And like that to me was the biggest part. Or else it's just like, imagine if it's just like a boys league or something like that, then it's just we'd all still have fun. But the fact that I think everybody could participate, and everybody like regardless of skill set, like male, female, whatever, anything else, like everybody could participate and like contribute. Athletic, not athletic. I think it was the great equalizer, right? Because like obviously I think baseball players came in with an advantage just because they didn't have throwing mechanics. But other than that, like you could have some big like jocks, or like let's say football players, for example. Like they don't really have that big of an advantage. Like if you're athletic, you're going to do a little bit better. But then you get the skinny nerds like Brandt and Godley coming out and just like, then they learn the game and they get really good at it.
Exactly.
Right? So like that's what I thought was what drove its success and why it was so popular. And then like obviously the environment too, right? Like you're playing with your floor. You're against other floors, so it's like the camaraderie there, and like it's a good reason to hang out. It's a good excuse to drink after. Like it's just, I don't know. The whole thing is just the perfect storm of honestly, and that's what I think that drives its success and makes it so fun.
And I think one of the things you touched on too is not only does the elite athlete not have that much of a step up on everybody else because everyone's kind of coming into it fresh, but I think also it gave people that never would have thought of themselves as athletic their whole life an opportunity, and because it was so much fun, they'd stick with it, and they would find that people, I think a lot of times when you grow up and you're told, oh, you're not athletic, or you think, oh, I'm not athletic, I don't play sports, you just never tried it, you don't know what kind of skills you have, and then it lets people, you have a whole year to try it, and you're going to get better. And they see that improvement. You see these people that have never played a sport in their life. Some of the best people at dodgeball were people that had never played a sport in their whole damn lives. And that was so special to watch these people. I think it was also a bit detrimental at times because I think, and maybe this is me reading too much into it, but I think there were some people that were of that sort and they kind of enjoyed it so much that they have a really hard time letting go.
Yeah.
And I think we see that.
That's true.
For sure. And I think that's dodgeball and Lister. It was so much fun that you just see people will come back and they've been graduated for 5-6 years and they're still coming back and playing with these first years and they just can't let it go. But I think that speaks to the specialness of what was created there. It was so much fun that people didn't want to let it go. And I can't imagine, I mean, I played hockey and stuff, so it wasn't that big of a difference to me. Mm-hmm. But I can imagine putting myself in someone's shoes that they've been told their whole life they're not athletic, and then they kind of get down on themselves about it, so they never try, and then they come into this sport, they're on their own, they're away from their parents, and they get thrown into this, well, I'm just going to try it, and then maybe the first year they're not that good, but they come back for the second year and they're not bad, and maybe they almost make all, and then the third year, you'd see kids that would come back in their third year and they would be amazing at the sport because they've now put 2 years of work into it, and they've gone to every drop in, they've practiced, just like League of Legends where you say you can grind, you can get better. There was kids that would put in hours and hours, and I mean, I couldn't do that because my arm fell off. I think I busted my shoulder. My shoulder's still fucked from second year. Like, it was never the same after that year of that little run we put out. But I just thought it was special because I'm very curious, Evan, how I have a feeling that if you could recreate, like build a David Tuckey somewhere else off campus and start that league back up and just have all the returning alumni make your base of what you start with, and then have people come in from there, like there's dodgeball leagues around, I mean, just for fun. But if you could bring that I want to see if that competitive fire that was found in the LDL would reignite outside of it, even without all like the floors and the bonding, because that's what made it so. It was storylines, right? And you would know these people and you go drinking after and all, like you said, and there was so much to it, and the crowds and everyone would know. So you have a big game that week, everybody would be looking at you walking down the hallway, everyone knows, and the gym would be packed when you go to play, and just it was almost like celebrity status at times, and there'd be big games. And I wonder how much of it is that and how much of it was just stumbled upon a really good rule set and a really good opportunity. And I think you're very right that having everybody involved really was what took it to the next level. But I'm very curious about that, and would always want to, if you could ever run an experiment to see what you could, I would be curious what could be done outside of the halls of Lister with that sport.
Yeah. I think it gets a little tough. Lister's like we said, the perfect storm. So many factors. I think like if you set up that league right now, hypothetically, like would I join? I need like it's a great way to get cardio in, a great way to work out, honestly.
For sure.
And hang out with the friends, do it, just any rec sport right now, honestly, with COVID.
I know.
I'd take anything.
Yeah.
But, I think it would be fun. But I just think you're never going to get that perfect storm of like,
it wouldn't be the same. Hey.
Yeah. And like you said, like with the crowds, like that's such a weird thing to explain to people, that you have people like coming to watch you play a dodgeball game. They're like, what the hell? Like, these are adults watching other adults play a sport, like a dodgeball game. Like, this makes no sense. But like, it was fun to watch stuff, right? Like it's an exciting game. Like,
it was,
get hit, and there's so many big plays that can happen. It's interesting for sure. It's very specific to Lister. It's hard to describe.
So how's your knees doing now? Have you got any more work done?
Really good, actually. I did. So I tore it twice. I've torn it a third time, unfortunately.
Oh my God.
So currently no ACL right now. But. So I went to go see the surgeon, and I started like, he sort of laid out the options. Like, look, if we do another surgery, like you need to have 2 surgeries this time. One is a bone graft, and so that we can run you the new ligament through, and the other is the actual surgery. It's another 2 years of recovery. 2 years. So, but he's kind of like, so how does it feel right now? And I just started. I've gone back to the gym. I've been working out for about 6 months. I'm like, you know what? It actually feels pretty good. Like, let's try it without it. So I'm currently going without the surgery right now. No ACL reconstruction this time. Haven't had any problem. It feels really good.
Oh, that's awesome. But I guess you're not really, with COVID going on, you can't really fully test it. So you're just testing it out in the gym and stuff. Were you doing any just rec sports before that?
Yeah. I was
before you caught it the third time?
Yeah. I was doing some softball. Last summer. Just like one of those rec leagues here.
And you like your drinking sports, don't you?
I do. Any sport that you can have a beer during or before and after, that's a sport for me. So it was that's what I was doing. No problems there. And like if I ever want to do any intense sports where I got to move around a lot more, I'll get a custom brace to put over my knee. But I haven't got that yet because I just have no need for it.
Exactly. What can you do?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
were you I mean, obviously COVID, but were you still watching lots of sports? Are you still into sports heavily or what?
You know what's funny? I just started getting back into football. For the longest time, I just didn't really watch sports. I just I like to watch when I played, and then when I stopped playing sports, I kind of stopped watching it as much. I can still shoot the shit about it, but I don't know any. I'm so behind on like players. Like currently, my favorite safety in the NFL is probably Troy Polamalu, right? So like it's it's outdated information.
Yeah, I hear you.
Just started getting back.
Are you watching any esports?
Yeah. Right now, for those unaware, the League of Legends World Finals are happening right now in China. So problem is the games air at 2 a.m. To 8 a.m. So I do not. Have you
been watching them all?
I watch some of the games in the morning. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I work on the side. I'll just throw it on my second monitor and.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't watched any yet, but I've watched every Worlds for League before this one. But is it still getting the same kind of numbers? Because I remember when me and you were in school, they were getting more numbers for the World Finals than like the Stanley Cup Final, the World Series, and the Grey Cup combined, or not Grey Cup, whatever. Why am I forgetting the Super Bowl? Jesus Christ!
That's a tough one to forget, Nick.
That's when you know you've had a hard day at work, when you forget the goddamn Super Bowl. Holy Christ! I need to burn this Vikings hat I'm wearing right now. I don't deserve it. You think you're outdated? I can't even remember the goddamn Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah, but is it still getting those kind of crazy numbers? Is it even bigger now?
It's even bigger now. Yeah, it's pulling like insane numbers. Like the actual finals haven't happened yet. That's when it gets the most insane views. But especially right now because over like in China. So they can watch it live in China and like all the Asian countries, and Oceania and stuff. They can watch it live. So
it's going to get crazy numbers then.
It's going to get stupid numbers. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
And like when you think about the way it's watched too, like you don't watch it on TV, you don't need cable, you just have a computer and internet. You can stream it for free on Twitch or YouTube or wherever, right? So
wherever you want.
Yeah.
And that was, I remember when you guys were telling me that the kind of numbers that it pulls, even however many years, 5, 6, 7, probably 8 years ago now. I remember trying to get my dad to buy an esports team or invest in an esports team at that time. I was like, come on, just, throw some money at it and all that. And I don't know what they were worth at that time, but then just this year I was showing them kind of what the numbers were like now, and like all the NBA teams getting behind them and NBA owners all buying up these teams and how they're franchising. I'm just saying, like, man, the return on investment you could have had at that time for jumping in on one of those, it was just nuts. Yeah. And to see that, and it's so funny how little people know about the size of it. It's getting more views than all these huge things, and nobody's even aware that it's happening, right? Like, it blows my mind a little bit that people are so unaware of it.
Yeah. And like you said, like they're starting to get backed by some big money. NBA teams buying these esports franchises. A couple of them are like big enough, like the C9s and stuff, that they can. They're sort of self-sufficient. They don't need the backing of a team. But the teams in these spots are getting bought for millions of dollars just to play in the league. And like, it's fun to see. Like, I know this sounds so weird, but like I love seeing the ads now. These games, because I'm like, man, they're getting big sponsors to come in here and like pay for these there's the Bud Light Ace now. Like,
I know. When I heard the Bud Light Ace, I was like, holy shit, Bud Light sponsors this now?
Yeah, Bud Light is a sponsor of Legal. Like, just saying that out loud, I'm like, man, if you said that 6 years ago, I'm like, it's not gonna happen. But now it's like, holy shit, like, it's happening. Like, we love to say that as we play in our games. Get an ace, like Bud Light Ace, baby, and like, like that's such good marketing. Of course
I know.
Like, it's insane. So
the amount of Bud Lights I drank while playing League of Legends for that to be the sponsor is just too perfect. It's almost like they did it just for me, because that was all we drank. Like, I remember at the start of that year in first year, me and Rosento both went. Maybe he had his car there, and we just bought flats and flats and flats. I think we bought like 4 flats of Bud Light and 4 flats of Budweiser each, and we drank them in like the first month. It was ridiculous how quickly they were gone from that. Like, that year was such a I don't even know what to call it. It was a whirlwind. It was a whirlwind. We'll call it that.
That's a good term for it. It was a
whirlwind. Yeah. That's awesome. And that was something that I thought was funny, because in fourth year, you also live with him, Chase Rao. Shout out to Chase. He's probably listening. That fucking goofball. I've got to get him on the podcast. I've been trying to get him on here. He's gonna be a fan favorite, I'm sure. But he would always make fun of me every time he walked into my room, and I'd be watching League of Legends, right? Watching esports, whether it's Worlds or just regular season. He'd always laugh at me and be, "Oh, you fucking goof! Like, what are you watching that shit for?" And then when all sports went away with COVID and the LCS kind of, they were down for a week and a half, and they were back up, and they were playing again. And I was so desperate for sports, and then they just came right back, and I was watching that. I was just sitting there texting Chase, being like, I get to watch sports, you don't. And he's like, that's not real sports, but to me it is. If you know everything and you understand it, it's so much fun to watch.
Like it's crazy, because like that, just what you said, I was like, man, this is the perfect whirlwind for esports to make like a comeback. Like, think of it, that's the one sport you can play from home. Right? Yeah. Like quarantine. So like and all these guys, they live in the same house. Like, they have these gaming houses, and they all have their gaming setups all in the same room. So it actually was just perfect.
Mm-hmm. They could just quarantine together.
They just quarantine. They just kind of say, hey, like, the reason that we played, in a stadium before was, sell out some tickets, as well as no ping servers. So there's no lag. Yeah. But if you're all playing on the same lag, because they all live in LA, all these teams, there's no problem. Like, it's just you're playing on 20 ping instead of 0. So there's no what's the word, competitive disadvantage for running it from home. Mm-hmm. Which is just crazy.
Yeah. So then Worlds, you said it's in China. So did all the teams fly to China? Are they all actually in China, or are they playing from different places?
They all flew to China. They flew did the whole quarantine thing for 2 weeks.
They got their own bubble?
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. I think they do. Yeah. And they play in the stadium now.
Oh, really?
Close
just with it empty?
Yeah, it's empty. But it's so funny, because they'll show like the pan of the stadium, and like they put a lot of money into like their CGI and their graphics and like the presentation of it all. But it's all empty, but it still looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I bet they were always ahead of the game on that, and it's funny to see that they were always kind of running the balance. I thought when I would watch their things, they were trying to kind of walk the line between traditional sports and trying to look like a traditional sport, but they were, like you say, their graphics and stuff were always so far ahead, and they were always so ahead of the game, because it's a video game, and they were they weren't entrenched in that old school way of thinking with kind of how you have to do things. This is, you do this, you cut to commercial, and it's all online, right? You just have, a quick 5-minute break. It's on to the next one. Just a little timer throws up, run a few ads, and then you're back into it, and it's just runtime. So then they had to make their own ways, the analyst desks that they come up with, the little programs they run. And I didn't ever realize, I watched LCS for a couple years before I realized how much work went into that, with the actual broadcasters themselves and what they have to do. They work all week to come up with all those segments and stuff to run for those weekends. Like, it's a full-time job, and it is competitive, and it is stressful. I started listening to a couple podcasts with some of the people that did that job, and I was blown away by the amount of work. I mean, that's everything. You always say everything looks easy from the outside, and you don't realize what's happening underneath the surface. But I was just blown away, and to be let in on some of the inter-office rivalries and stuff, and people not liking each other. It was so interesting to them. And obviously they were talking about like years past and stuff, but just to see these people you'd watch on camera be all chummy, and you don't know that they actually hated each other for like the 2 years that you were watching that. It's just amazing to see that, that going on.
Yeah, and like what you said, like they were chasing. They did that. They tried to emulate sort of like I always thought they looked like the NFL desk, like the analyst desk. They went for that look first, and then they got there, and they're like, "Okay, we look professional now. Yeah. Now let's see what we can do." And then they took it to the next level. And
now they just kind of do their own thing.
Yeah, now they're doing all their own segments. There's tons of fun, like you said. Like they don't have the same like standard commercial breaks. They can't. It's not the way it works. It's not on TV. So like it's so interesting to watch it, and it sounds so dumb because I like looking at their ads now.
Yeah,
see what they're doing. It's like, okay, like how are they doing? Like what are they managing? And like that's where you see like the Bud Light Ace. They got the State Farm analyst desk. Like they're just. I mean, everybody's got those segments that are named after a sponsor.
Yeah.
But like just watching them do it, like they'll have like energy drink cans placed like tactically on the desk as they're like talking shit. Yeah, it's interesting. Super interesting. And that's for all the esports too. Like I know you play League specifically, but like CSGO has a big esports scene.
Right.
All these other games, I would start naming them, but I could go on forever. They all have these esports scenes, and they're all like slightly different. It's just like traditional sports, and it's getting there. And I don't know.
And they all pull big numbers too, which is the thing. Like
real good numbers, yeah.
And that's amazing. That's what the future, and that's why I get so interested in their ads. And what I think is also cool is to watch them go from, it seemed like at the start, like you say, they were trying to copy the NFL a lot, right? It looked very much like a carbon copy of the NFL. But recently, over the last probably even 3 or 4 years, I'd say they've kind of branched out and taken themselves a little less seriously. Like they almost had to go the NFL route to get established and look, we are professional and this is like a sport. And then they kind of went back to their roots of, no, we are still a video game. We don't have to take ourselves that seriously. And they brought a little bit of the silliness back and the meme culture in that. And I feel like that's almost more so than people just don't understand that video games are the future and that esports is a big deal. But I feel like more than that, people just don't understand like the meme culture and a way to tap into that and like the Twitch culture and that kind of thing. It's so, it's such its own beast, and it's so hard to describe to people. It's almost harder to describe than dodgeball is to people, right? Like it's just its own thing. If you don't get it, you don't get it. And if you get it, you get it. But there's millions and millions and millions of kids that are all understand this culture and speak that language, and they've tapped into it, right? And even sometimes I feel like I'm getting left behind watching sometimes, right? Like over the last couple of years, some of the segment stuff, I don't even get it. And like, you know, some of the emote stuff, they're like the jokes they're making, I miss it. But I feel like I was never good at the game. And I'm just so blown away by the skill level that is shown in it that I just sit there and almost watch in awe. Like I feel like,
you know what? I think that the skill level in esports is so interesting to look at, because like when you think about like a traditional sport like hockey, let's say, like a bunch of the NHL players come from northern European countries or Canada. That's kind of like the bulk of it. Then you think about a video games, like there's no geographical advantage for being anywhere other than like low ping, which is almost nothing. There's nothing to stop you. Like you can't really get injured. You can't like, there's just so many different interesting factors that mean like the people who get good at the game are just the best people at the game. It's not like there's some random like Wayne Gretzky's now born in China and he never learns to play hockey and like he missed it. It's like if you're good at the game and you play the game, you will eventually be good at the game if you put the time in, right? So I don't know, it's interesting.
And to take the physical aspect out, because so much of sports is still a grind, right? And that's what people don't realize, that it doesn't matter how skilled you are at hockey or football or whatever it is, unless you are that Wayne Gretzky, you're going to have to grind your ass off and work harder than everybody else just to stay in the league, right? And that's the same with this, but now you take that physical dependency completely out of it and it's all on you. I guess other than reaction time, I guess reaction speed is probably the one thing that would gate things more than the other, but it's such a small factor. And there's guys that can, there's certain people that, for people I don't know, that are really mechanically inclined. And you can tell that that's what really brings them forward in their game. And that's where they excel, is just their reaction time, their actual ability at the game. And then there's people that are just so smart and understand it and understand the strategy around it, because that's the other part of it, is it's not only a game where you can just practice and get really good at it. A lot of the time, the best mechanical players that are actually most skilled at the game and like doing the things that you need to do to win, like trying to put it in terms of like, killing the other guys and winning the game. That's not everything. It's such a strategy based game because there's 5 players on each side. They all have different roles, all have different things. And then there's, I don't know. There's got to be over 100 champions now. Hey, like that you can play.
Oh, there's 150 something. Right?
Holy shit! Yeah,
there's 150 playable characters, and you have to know what every single ability does. Every single one of them does. Their weak points. Their strong. Like it's you can't know it all. Actually, that's the crazy part. That's why
exactly.
And they change the game every 2 weeks. They release a patch every 2 weeks. It changes. That's why it's like it's never going to be a solved game.
Yeah, that's what makes it so exciting.
Game. Yeah, which is why it's fun. And I guess that from the outside, especially if you don't play video games, you would never think of it like that.
Yeah,
you know, like you're just like, well, you'd never think of it like that. But if you like, even you've played it, like you've kind of admitted that you weren't exactly. It's not like you played it a lot or you didn't play it competitively or anything, but you could still understand how complicated and how hard it is. Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like that was what's so cool to me is I'm not very good at the game, and I feel like, because I'm not very good at the game, it puts me in a special position that I don't like the game because I'm good at it and because I enjoy playing it even that much. I just think it's such a special game. I enjoy playing it because I think the game is so special, but I'm so terrible at it that that's what prevents me from getting super hard into it. Right. And what used to have me addicted to it was playing with all you guys and having fun. That was when it was super addicting, was playing with friends and really getting into it, where it didn't matter if I sucked because we were all on a team, you know, and it's got matchmaking. So you could put me on a team with you and Tanner and Godly and Kyle and Ben, and I could just kind of float around and try not to fuck up too bad and kind of have fun with you guys and just, you know, drink my beer and have a good time. But what that gave me was that basic understanding of it now allows me to watch it as a sport. And I feel like I'm so grateful for you guys for pulling me into that game, because now it's provided me for years and years of, I haven't missed a Worlds. This is the first time I haven't been watching Worlds, and I'll probably catch up on it before the finals happen. I'll be caught up because my girlfriend's out of town, so I have nothing else to do. So I might as well watch it all the time.
Yeah.
But I just feel like it's so much fun to sit there and watch these players. And just because I understand how the game works, I can see exactly what they're doing, and I can be amazed by the plays they're pulling off and how quickly their brains must be working to do 30 to 40 actions in a span of like 6 seconds to make something happen, right? They're clicking all over, they're moving their guy, they're throwing abilities, they're keeping track of cooldowns of the other team, of how when their abilities are going to come back up. And there's so many factors that they're keeping in their head that once you understand that, you just almost watch in awe, where if you don't understand the game, you watch it. And that's what makes it so hard to explain to people, is you have to have a certain level of understanding before you realize what's happening in front of you. It's almost like there's it's almost like you need a skill to watch it. And it's so cool. And I feel like I'm just lucky because go ahead.
And I think that's like what you're getting. The perfect point is like when you watch somebody play a sport and do something insane, like you can tell what a good play is in football. Like if someone goes up one-handed snag in two defenders, you're like, okay, that was sweet. If I showed a random person a clip of like I'm going to say a 5-man Malphite ultimate, you know what that is.
Yeah, I sure do.
You know, you'd be like, oh, that was dope. If the person doesn't play the game, they have no idea what that means. Like they cannot process. They're like, that was hard, and that doesn't happen all the time. Whereas like when you're watching real sport, you can think like, could I do that? And a lot of people after a couple beers are like, I could have made that catch, but like you can't. We're not athletes. Like, don't fucking lie to yourself about it. But that, I think that's the real big disconnect with video games and like the regular viewer. They just don't understand. You can't appreciate how hard it is to do things
exactly
unless you played the game, and then you're like, oh fuck, that was that doesn't happen. Like, that was cool.
And I think it's funny because the biggest knock on esports is people saying that it's the lack of the physical aspect. Oh, you're not doing anything, you're just sitting at a computer. But in fact, that's the actual thing that makes it so special. The biggest knock on it from the uninitiated is actually its biggest piece is, once you understand that and you know that, this has nothing to do with their physical ability. It's all just their skill and the time they put in the game, all the different things. It's so much about their mind and what they're all keeping in mind to understand that, right? Like, I almost think that the 5-man Malphite ult is almost a bad example of it, right? It's almost like, you flashed over, did one thing, attack this to lifesteal, and then, it's things like that make me just go like, how would when I watch, like, my favorite guy to watch now, what I watch all the time is Bunny Fufu. He always puts out videos, and I barely miss a video of him because he's one of those players where he played he played professionally for a bit, but he never panned out. But he was always like his mechanics are out of this world. He's so good at the game, but he just never had the rest of it, because you can be, like I said, you can be really mechanically inclined, but that doesn't mean you're going to be a good player, right? You need all of these factors. You need the teamwork. You need all these other things. You need to be good under pressure. You need to be all these other things, but his mechanics are amazing. And I watch him do things where he's talking to the camera, like making jokes and doing these incredible like things that blow my mind and not even thinking they're anything crazy. And it's just so cool to me to watch that. And it's something I will never, ever be able to do, something I'll never, ever even try to do. But it's so fun to watch. And I just feel so lucky that I understand that. And I feel like I wish I could explain to people what they're missing by it. And just, it's so easy for them to write it off. I almost can't even blame them, because I was doing that same thing when I would sit there and watch you guys like, this is stupid, this little video game we're playing. But as soon as I started to understand it to a little bit, it was like, oh my God, this is what's happening. And then when I started watching the pros play and just to see what different level that was, it was just, it's mind blowing. Right. And that probably goes for every esport. You know, I mean, I think League of Legends is a little bit, different than some. Like if you take a Rocket League, for example, it's got enough traditional aspects that, you know, you're putting a ball in a net. Right. And it's in a very crazy and exciting way. And it's got huge crowds, but it's still understood. And same with Call of Duty or CSGO or any of those shooter games, you know, it's still, you shoot the bad guys, right? It's very basic, as much as you can understand that sort of thing, you know, Fortnite, those kind of things, they all are, you could explain to someone enough in half an hour that they could watch it and enjoy it and probably be fine. Where League of Legends, you would need 12 hours to explain it to somebody, and probably you'd have to get them into a game enough, and that wouldn't even be enough for them to really enjoy what they're watching. It probably takes 50, 60 hours of in-game time before you'd even be at a point where you could really start to appreciate. And even then you wouldn't, you know, and that's what's so special about it to me, is the games like that. Like that's what's next level about it. And that's what's so special. And when you build those communities where it doesn't matter that you can't explain it to your parents or whatever, because there's millions and millions of people out there that do get it. And it doesn't matter if you can't explain it to people, because there's enough people out there that do know that you can just go find them. Right. And that's so cool to me that I'm not really part of that community. I feel like a lurker in the whole community. I just feel like an outcast. I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't even understand this. I just lucked into this because I like drinking beer. Yeah. And now it's turned into something that I've really enjoyed and has been so much fun to play with people, and has helped, you know, keep friendships alive, and just has done so much. And I just think that, that game in particular is very special. I'm happy you guys kind of drug me into it.
It is special, and I think it sounds like a weird thing to say, as I have it uninstalled on my computer, so I don't play it as much, right? But like, it's a unique game, and like even the people who hate it, they love to come play it again, right? Because like you just said, it's once you have a group of friends who play it, you can always hop back in the game and just have a little bit of fun with it. I mean, and it's so easy. You know how hard it is to go and like let's say we were going to go throw the ball around. Okay. First of all, what city you want to go throw it in right now, right?
Exactly.
Whereas like right now, both you and we could end this right here, log on to League and play a game of League. I'd have to install first, but whatever. You get the idea is that, and then we'd be talking, you're shooting the shit the whole time, you're still having fun. I don't know. It's just the whole experience of playing games, and Discord especially, just hanging online with your friends and stuff, has been, it's always great. And then when you're in a quarantine, a pandemic, like it changed everything. Like a lot of people feel, you know, like they're missing sports and missing everything. I felt great. I was like, oh, nothing's changed.
Yeah.
The only thing that's changed is now what I'm doing is more acceptable. Actually, it's acceptable thing. Yeah. So anyway,
that's funny. Did your league playing go up a lot when COVID first hit?
Oh yeah, tons.
You put in some good hours
for sure. Yeah. Well, shit, when you're just home all day, when office is closed, I was like, shit, okay, well, I'll do my work, and while I'm waiting for stuff, I'm like, maybe just one quick game, and then you know how that goes. So
for sure,
definitely played more.
And when's the last time you got into grinding League hard, like when you're actually playing ranked and stuff?
I wouldn't say I really grinded hard. I would like the last week I've been, since the season's close to ending. And I'm like gold 1, I think. So I'm close to platinum.
Nice.
So I'm close to the next tier. So I'm like, like I kind of want to go for it, but I'm not going to go and try super hard. I'm going to go play for fun. But like, if that's the thing, if I have to play those games solo, but if I log on, you know, at 6:00 right now, like there's going to be a couple other people online playing. So I'll just play with them.
Yeah. And that was always what was so much fun for me. Like I've never had that much fun playing by myself, except for Earth. I think Earth is the only exception to that. I think you can play that by yourself and have so much fun. But when you're playing with people, because it is such a teamwork based sport, or game, I guess, and it's so much fun to play when you have the team with you. That playing with friends was so much fun. I think that was what took me getting back into it, was when me and Kyle started playing again, and having a friend to play with. That was really what reignited it for me, and brought me back into it, right? And I think that's what's so cool about it, is it's fun to play on its own, but it's such next level when you have people to play with, and just the camaraderie that it can build. And people find, you always hear this in every video game, of people make friends online, that, you'll hear of people showing up at funerals that they've never even met before, because they'd never seen each other, but they'd played so many video games that they're so attached, like they would show up, right? And they were in a very real way, they were friends, right? And that's hard for people to understand, but for anybody that's played video games for any chunk of time, they do understand that, right? And I think League of Legends just amplifies all those aspects of video games to the next level, just because of the intensity and the community that it builds around it, right?
Yeah, and I think even further than League of Legends, like I would say, like, there was a while there where we were playing on Steam, and we found this one like mini golf game, and we all like, the bunch of us, we just downloaded that, and it was like $4, and it was a terrible game. It was broken. It was shitty. It was garbage. But we just sit there, we just playing mini golf, and it was just like the boys drinking a couple beers. It's like a Thursday, whatever night it was, doesn't matter. We're just having a chill night in, and it's just staying up till 1 a.m. playing mini golf and like hanging out on the Discord. It's just hanging out with the boys, and I think it's hard to describe that. When you're playing video games, you're not just sitting there mindlessly playing video games. You're hanging with the boys. Whoever, like, that's what it is. It's just doing that from a distance. So it's and it, like you said, League's pretty cool because lots of people play it. And you can take it as competitive or seriously as you want, or like what you said, you come on and play the one for fun game mode that's like just for shits and absolutely crazy, and it's just there's no structure to it at all. It's just absolute chaos. That's fun for you, right? Some people grind ladder like 8 hours a day to try and be like to the top like 0.1%, right? There's something for almost everybody, every level of which I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And so just to explain, people just like grinding and stuff. So you can play normal game modes where it's just, you go in, you can play by yourself or you can play with your friends. There's 5 people on a team and you play against 5 people. But if you're playing just solos or whatever, it doesn't matter. You win or you lose, nothing really happens. But then there's a ranked mode where you go in, it's a little bit more competitive. And then when you win or lose, you get bumped up or down. You get this stuff called LP. And then when you get to 100, I think it is, you move up to the next rank. Or if you lose down past 0, you get demoted. Or when you get over 100, you get a play-in, right? And you play 3 games or something.
You do a little mini series, Yeah.
So if you win the majority of them, and you move up. And is Iron 5 the lowest still?
They changed, so it's Iron 4. Every division has 4 tiers.
Oh, okay.
So there's 4. So there's Iron, Bronze, Silver, Gold, Platinum, Diamond. And then the very top of the tier is like less than 1,000 people is Master, Grandmaster, and then Challenger. Yeah,
there's new ones.
They've added a couple new ones because the people at the top, there's so much difference between them, even though they're the 0.01% of players. Like they're the top Challengers, the top 200 players in all of the server.
Holy shit!
1 million people. So you can do the math. I'm not going to try.
But isn't like Platinum still like 1% of the people? Like, isn't the majority down in the bottom ones?
Yeah. So I think that like the Platinum, I think the roughly is about the top 8%.
Right, and that's you've been in that pretty regularly over your career playing, hey?
Yeah. So that's the top 8%, and then everything else is below that. Like I think I'm in Gold 1 now. Gold 2 now or something like that, and that's like the top 20%.
Right.
So and those are a big gap between.
Yeah, that's a huge gap. Yeah. What was the highest rank you ever got?
It was Plat 2.
Plat 2.
Plat.
What
2.
percentage is that?
So that was like top 2%.
Holy shit!
Top 2%, I think.
That's pretty cool.
Because there's like a little site where you can go and check. Right?
Yeah.
Obviously, when you start to get up to those levels, you're like, oh man, what percentage am I now? So I was checking pretty regularly. Like, shit. Like every time I won a game, I'm like, oh, let's go see what percentage I am now. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was 2%. Plat 2. But I never made it past that, and I never made it back again. So obviously a fluke.
Hey, one day, I'm sure you'll get there. Another quarantine will hit, and you'll get a lot of uninterrupted time.
Yeah,
maybe a knee surgery. Hopefully, knock on wood that never happens.
Yeah, hopefully not. But if it does, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, no shit. I think I never played ranked because I never wanted to see how badly I would be put in. I think I maybe did the play-ins to see where I'd be ranked once over the whole time I played. I never took it that serious to try it, but I think if I did, I knew I'd be definitely somewhere in iron. I don't know where in iron, but somewhere in iron.
Yeah. You know what, Nick? I won't lie to you. Probably.
Yeah, I know. Hey, I am fully at peace with where I am with my League of Legends skills.
Good. You know what? I'm glad I don't have to break the news to you.
Yeah. If you want to talk Call of Duty Black Ops 3, I mean, hey, I was probably top 1% in the world, and I went pretty deep on that. Yeah. So I go in. I go full on League of Legends addiction in my second year.
Yeah.
Realized this is not conducive to school. I can't play this. So I quit that third year, do good in school. And then fourth year, I said, I think I got that licked. I can bring my PS4 to school. Bad idea. I got pretty into the old Black Ops 3 that year. And I mean, I never failed the course all of university. I don't know how. I somehow, even courses I had no business passing. There were some econ courses with math and calculus that I had no idea. I didn't understand. I still to this day don't know how I passed them, but somehow I managed to pass these courses. It blew my mind. Exactly. Just let's move this kid through. Yeah, we don't want to see him again. But then so kind of going into school, just because I kind of went onto that path. Mm-hmm. I found that throughout the business school, there was a lot of times where it was. I felt, and I'm just curious if you felt any of this too, where it was kind of, you had to kind of find one viewpoint. Like there's a lot of things where if you didn't follow the very left-wing way of looking at things I think maybe that was because I had a lot of environmental stuff in my degree, but it was very much, if you didn't follow this one viewpoint, and if you even asked questions about it to the contrary, even if it was just to try and prove things, you would not get the marks and you would get the questions wrong. And I felt like it was very much, I had to change my views to get the marks. Did you find that in any of your courses?
No, but sorry, what was your major?
Natural resources, energy, and environment.
Right.
So it was a lot of like economic.
No, I was curious because I almost went into that, and when you said it was mostly environmental course, I'm like, that's probably. Yeah. No, I didn't, and that's probably exactly why. Like, I never had. Yeah. All my stuff was so like every single final I wrote that was like an OM course, and OM end course was all done in Excel. It was all just super math.
Those are my favorite classes.
Yeah, like it was all just, okay, you either know it or you don't know it. Like you have to set up a system that does this, or set up an Excel sheet that does this. So I never had I didn't have a lot of that kind of to the discretion of stuff. It was like the answer's 4. It's not like
exactly.
So yeah.
And I found that was what was so liberating when I got into those types of classes, Evan, because not only was it there's a right answer, but they didn't care how you got there. If you came up with a system that got you to the right answer and you put it into that box and you had the right number there, they didn't care how. And I feel like I was so programmed to do it the way they taught you. So I'd go into those OM classes. They do, you do your lab and they teach you how to build everything in Excel to get you to this answer. And then we go try and do our homework and it'd be me and a bunch of people sitting in the caf trying to figure it out. And we could never do it. And then I just go, I'm going to just try it my own way and figure it out if I can find it. And I would always find a way to do it my own way and get the right answer. And then I started, they don't really care how you get there. And then I started doing really well in those classes because I could just figure it out myself. And however I decided to get to the right answer, they didn't care as long as I got the right answer. Sometimes that might be in the ass on the tests if it, because they would set it up. So they wanted you to do it the right way, but sometimes it was so cool, and I felt like it was very liberating to get to that point of they don't really give a shit, just figure it out. Because I always felt like that's what I think I always thought I didn't like math, but I think it was just because they were always so strict about how you did the math, and if I figured out my own way, they would get upset about it because they want you to learn the right way. But I feel like they were so strict that it kind of turned me off of it, and I felt like that was super fun, and those Excel classes were great, except that I'm colorblind and everything they did was like color coded cells. So like in the purple cells and then the blue cells, like that's bullshit. And then they'd always use a laser pointer. You can't see laser pointer on a screen if you're colorblind.
Didn't even think of that. Wow. I color code all my sheets now too. I should ask if any of my coworkers are colorblind. Fuck. Yeah. Shit.
Yeah, well. Oh, us poor colorblind people. We just get the shit end of the stick.
I'm sure someone would have said something by now. Yeah. Like, I can't tell what you want me to do here. So okay. Yeah. But and if they know, I didn't even think of that. That's cool.
And if they know how to use Excel decently, they can use. There's ways to figure out what color the cells are without having to actually look at the colors too.
For sure.
But not everybody knows that stuff.
Yeah, I guess you would have to. Yeah,
I had to figure that out pretty quick.
You learned that one from the hard way.
Yeah, that was the first or second thing I learned in Excel. So then kind of going back to video games, then I'm hearing you talk about Steam, and that's something I'm very curious about because there's new consoles coming out. There's a new Xbox and new PlayStation coming out, and a lot of my friends now play online and play on PC. So I'm thinking of building a computer. What do you think about building versus buying a computer?
I think building, like, I don't think you'll necessarily save any like big money or like get a bunch of you will save a little bit for sure, like not buying a brand name like pre-built computer. I think it's fun. And I think that when you like, so if you go to build the first computer I bought, I was 18. I bought an Alienware. It was just a little tiny tower. It was like the size of an Xbox. Yeah. And I was like, this is great because I can move it around a lot. But it actually was shitty because if I ever wanted to upgrade any of the pieces, they had to be the exact same size or else it wouldn't fit in the in the tower. So I went to go upgrade my graphics card because it was a little outdated. And I had to find one the exact same size, or else it wasn't going to fit. So it's a little bit limiting. Now I have like a medium-sized tower, and it's super fun because like you just have to get the right sized motherboard. That's important, but then everything else doesn't matter. Like you can kind of customize it however you want. I could upgrade it right now. I could go buy a brand new graphics card, just swap it in there. It would be all fine. I could run two. You can set it up however you want. Yeah, which I think is the real benefit. Where if you buy it and you were to buy it, it's kind of they pre-build it and they make it the size of the stuff that you need it for. They want you to kind of like an iPhone. It's meant to be replaced after X years. I can save this tower for however long and just replace all the parts out of it every couple years or as I want to. So I think that's the big advantage.
Okay.
I don't know how much a cost savings there would be though. I actually don't know.
Okay.
I haven't looked into it.
But you can also build it to the specs. So there's kind of some other things you get out of it. And then the other thing I'm curious about is, I know like the free to play kind of games, like that'll be easy to download, but how does it work? Like if a game comes out, say the new Call of Duty comes out on like PlayStation 4, does that release at the same time on Steam? Like, can you get it on computer at the same time or do you have to wait extra or what's the deal with those games?
Depends on the game. So there's like, obviously there's like the PlayStation exclusives and the Xbox exclusives. Those like don't Spider-Man. Always come over to PC. I think I could be wrong here. I think Uncharted is not on PC. Like you have to have a PlayStation to buy that game. That's the big difference. I think that people kind of get caught up in that. There's way more games on Steam than there is way more than any PlayStation game.
So you're not lacking in any content.
No, if you really want to play Uncharted, I don't know, I've never played it, but if you really want to play that game, then you need.
Then you're hooped.
But then you need one anyway. So
Fair. Okay.
So Steam. So have you used Steam before?
No, I've never. That's what I'm saying. I'm thinking of building a computer right now, but I've never used Steam before, so I'm a little bit kind of anxious about that whole thing. Like I don't want to go put all this money into a big computer and then, I've only ever used a console before, right?
Yeah, no, Steam's great. I don't know how to explain it other than it's just a big shop for video games. Like before, with like when you have an Xbox or a PlayStation, like when they released a new game like Call of Duty, you had to go and I remember going to a couple midnight releases, and I think for Modern Warfare 2, I went to the midnight release. Go to like an EB Games. It's just a virtual EB Games, but anybody can make a game there. Anybody can post it there to that platform.
Yeah. So there's lots of indie games and stuff there too.
Tons of indie games, and those are the kind of ones like that mini golf game. I don't know. It wasn't some big developer. It was probably some guy like Godly who built it in his spare time. Yeah. Like we fucked around with it. It's $4. Like how do you not?
Oh, that's awesome.
So it's really fun. Like we'll just play random games like that where you find it's like, oh, this game's like $3. So let's just buy it and play it. And if you play it for like an hour, you're like, I got my money's worth. It was $3. Like who cares? I drank more money in beer while we played it than I spent buying the game. So I think that's something that you'd like specifically. It's not, I wouldn't call you a super hardcore gamer, but you'll find these fun little nugget games. Like there's the very popular ones. Like I don't know how much you've been seeing of like Among Us.
A whole bunch of my friends are playing it right now.
Like that's a Steam game, and that game's super fun. And it's like I think that one's maybe $20 or something. And I've easily put 20 hours into it. So
So then if you're a developer and you go throw your game on that, is it public? Like what kind of split, like how much of that money goes to you? Like if you just built a game in your spare time and threw it up there for $3, like, is it public how much of that $3 goes to the developer and how much goes to Steam?
I have no idea. No.
But I'm curious. I wonder how much money you could make on that.
There's some games, they obviously get it cut. I actually don't know the numbers, but like there's certain, like Fortnite, they're not on Steam. They have their own platform.
Oh,
they're Epic Games.
Oh, right.
So, but they have their own launcher, so you have to buy their games from their launcher.
Same with Riot, right? For League of Legends, they have their own launcher. So
and like those games are clearly big enough that they can do it. And like
it's just for little guys that can't afford to. They want to build a game, but they can't afford a launcher and the infrastructure to do all that. So
and there's tons of big games on there too. Like there's like Total Wars on there. I don't know if you've heard of that one.
No, I haven't.
It's a big strategy game, but like Civilization is on there. Like stuff like that is on on that platform. It's just kind of like, where do you buy a PC game? You don't buy discs for PC games anymore. You download them online by purchasing them, or you buy them on Steam. Like for example, like there's other platforms, like Blizzard is a big game company. So like if I was going to go play the Modern Warfare right now, I'd have to go get the Blizzard app, buy it from there. So they're not on Steam.
What kind of a learning curve is it going from a controller to a mouse and keyboard, would you say?
Oh, it's easier for sure.
It's easier.
It's easier to use a mouse and keyboard in every single game. Here's the thing. I play a lot of mouse and keyboard games.
Right.
I like finding games where I can plug in my controller and sit back. It's a bit more casual.
Yeah.
But like especially for shooting games, like you're gonna be better with a mouse and keyboard for sure.
Oh boy. I don't know if I can get much better than I was at Call of Duty.
Here's the thing. The people you're playing against are also gonna be better.
You're right.
So take it like that. So I don't think it's much of a learning curve. It's a little bit.
Because I think that's one of the biggest things hanging me up.
Sitting back, relaxed, I like plugging in the controller and playing with the controller. But
you can still plug a controller into your computer and play with a controller if you want.
Yeah, like I have an Xbox controller, but I shouldn't say an Xbox controller. You have to buy like an adapter for it. It's basically it's an Xbox shaped controller, made by Xbox, that it's meant for the PC. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good to know, because I think that's one of the other things I was worried about. Like, am I going to be able to be smart enough to figure out how to get these games? Like, once I do have a computer, am I going to be able to figure out how to play with the mouse and keyboard? And I feel like that's just because I've never, other than League of Legends, I guess, but like all the shooters and stuff, to try and go from playing 18 years with a controller and then trying to switch to a mouse and keyboard. I was a little bit worried about that, but if it's not that bad, that makes me feel a lot better about it.
Yeah. Like it's a different game. I'd say it's going to sound weird, but it's a whole different game when you play mouse and keyboard.
Yeah.
Like I have a mouse pad here that's like the size of, like, I don't know, almost as long as my arm, right?
Yeah.
Because like you lower your sensitivity a lot so that you move your mouse, you're super like precise and you know exactly you're moving it. You almost move your whole arm when you're like.
Yeah. Well, I've seen you guys play with your big computers. You guys,
right? Like, so I think Godly looks like he has a yoga mat on his desk. That's how big his fucking mouse pad is.
Yeah.
But like that's what you need for those kind of shooter games where those micro movements matter. And like, imagine doing that on a controller. Like obviously you do. It's way easier with a mouse. So.
Yeah. Well, it's the same concept. I would always get those like extenders for my sticks. Like I would only put one on. I'd put one like for like the one that I'd move like the guy around, the one I would actually ADS with. I would put the extender on, because then you get twice the range that you can move around. You can get way more precise with kind of the different movements that you're doing, right? And I found that was next level for me, of just adding that extra, I don't know, centimeter of height onto the joystick to give you that little bit more control. Oh yeah,
min maxing here.
Oh baby. I think I had those in high school. I think my mom got them for my birthday one year. That was huge. Yeah. She got me that. And this was more of, I think, just a as seen on TV thing, but it was like kind of the red dot sight that you put, like, it had a little sticky and you put it on your TV so that like even if you weren't ADS, you could still like see where your reticle was. But it was just a huge thing. It like blocked half the screen and had a big dangling cord coming down. It was such a piece of shit. It was such a nice gift. And I think I probably asked for that. I doubt they would think of that as a gift.
Probably. Like, your mom's not going to pull that out of her bag.
Yeah. I think I saw that on TV somewhere. I was like, oh, that's like, the best thing ever.
Great. Yeah. No, I remember I bought a modded controller in my day too.
You
fire those single fire weapons pretty fast. Yeah.
Oh my God.
It didn't last very long. I didn't really like doing it.
Oh, that's funny. It felt too greasy or what?
No, I wasn't that good at Call of Duty. I was
it wasn't.
I was more of a play, search, and destroy. Run a riot shield and C4, and just
that sounds like
just
you.
be a little bitch, yeah,
yeah.
And then chirp people in the comms. Yeah, that was me. That was me back 14, 15, 16-year-old me. Yeah,
yeah. I think one of the funnest parts of playing League with you kids was just, and I call you guys kids, and you're the same age as me, but
yeah, it's fine.
Hearing the way you guys talk to other people and the way you chirp people is so fucking funny. Oh my God. Cause when I play, I don't know why. I just never really got into it with people. It would take a lot for me to ever, yell back or get angry at somebody. I'd get mad at myself all the time. I was always so busy being mad at myself for fucking up that I ever get mad at other people. Right. And half the time, and you guys were never mad at them, but you do it just out of like, you guys would just have so much fun with it. Just getting other people riled up. Oh my God. It was funny to listen to. Holy shit.
Still
I'm sure you guys are still doing that.
It's actually a lot of fun. Yeah. And it's funny now because people will be like, wow, you're getting so mad over video game. Like, I'm not mad at all. Like, this is I'm like, if you want to ruin this game, like, go for it, man. But like,
I'm 7 beers deep right now.
I'm gonna have my fun on the way out for sure. I recently got banned on my League accounts for saying something. I think it wasn't that bad, but something about like God, I can't even remember what it was. It was just something like his parents were related and something like that. Like
some of the things that came out of your mouth still to this day make me laugh. There was some fucking paste eating comments and
eating glue.
Parents, Oh, you had some of the best lines I'd ever heard, and it was just so original. I was just amazed, and probably that's from putting all those hours in online. You probably picked some up from all these people. Hey, that's a good one. That couldn't hurt.
And then you just like everybody. Everyone you've ever played an online game with has had sex with your mom, right?
Oh, of course.
So, like, you've got to think outside the box if you really
you got to get creative, hey?
I think Godly was one of the first ones to pioneer, like, I fucked your dad. I'm just like, wow, that has so much more punch. Like, for some reason. I'm like, has he? Like, I don't know. Like, you got to get creative in order to get in people's skin. Yeah. That's your goal.
So, what are the best games you've been playing lately? What's the good finds?
Okay, so, lately, I've been playing... me and the boys obviously still play League. We've talked about that a ton.
Yeah.
Among Us has been a real fun one.
Do you want to explain? I feel like I've seen that. I feel like I've seen that game. Maybe finish your list, but then after, I kind of want to get a breakdown because I have a slight idea of how it works, but I'd like to get a full breakdown from someone that's put 20 hours into it.
For sure, yeah. And like I haven't played a ton of other ones. I'm moving my cam down here so I can look at my list.
No problem.
Oh, Valorant.
Oh yeah. How is that?
That's fun. It's a lot of fun. I don't know. Have you played any like CS:GO?
I've just watched it online. I've never played it because I never had a PC that could really play those games. But I've watched it because I think Tanner was into CS:GO a bit. So I think he showed me it when
he got me into it. We played that, but that game's hard, and I'm not really an FPS player
kind of guy.
I should say, that's not really my skill set. But that game, it's like CS was fun, but then Valorant is just Riot's version of that.
So Riot is who made League of Legends, and they made their own kind of first person shooter equivalent with their kind of not color scale, but their aesthetic, right?
Art style,
their art style, and it's and they put lots and lots of time into it and brought some really cool people. And I'm saying this without ever playing the game, but just from the reaction of it and the people that have played it so far, it seems like it's really taken off. How is that for an esport? Is the esports scene really big for that already?
Yeah, I think, but I will throw a lot of props up to CS. CS really pioneered that kind of esport, and then like Riot. Like they're the founder of League of Legends, the creator of it. They kind of this last year have come out with like 4 different games that have just rivaled some of the other biggest games. The same type of games that have just sort of rivaled these other big giants. Like they released a card game that was supposed to like take on Hearthstone and like Magic the Gathering. Then Valorant was to take on CS:GO and I guess Rainbow Six Siege and Modern Warfare. And then they had, I don't know if you heard about Dota Auto Chess.
Oh yeah, I got hooked into that for a bit. Hey, I was plat in what is it called? What's the island? What's
TFT?
Yeah, TFT. I was plat.
Really? Yeah. I'm not even plat, Nick. Good for you. Fuck.
Well, it was
fun. I like to play it.
It was when it first came out and people were just kind of in. I was like, oh, I'll try this, and I got really into it. Because it was pure strategy. Because that was what always sucked at League of Legends. Is my mechanics was out there. I always understood the game, and I'd always watch the competitive. So I knew what was going on, but I have no map awareness, no idea what's going on, and I was really bad at the actual game. But this TFT, it didn't matter. You had no mechanics. It's just all about strategy, and I found I fucking killed that shit.
And guess what, Nick? I'm gonna give you a little spoiler here. It's pretty hard to have good mechanics when you're on a little laptop.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I gotta say,
maybe if I build a PC,
your screen is about the size of like a phone. I imagine, like a phone screen. Like it's hard to see what's going on. Like
that is true.
If you have big dual monitors, it's gonna help a lot. So
all right,
yeah,
maybe when I get the computer, you'll have to give me a few lessons. Maybe I'll be moving up from iron to bronze.
Yeah. Oh, we'll get you there for sure.
Yeah. Couple hours grinding.
Yeah. So no, TFT is super fun. So those are the games that have come out. And so Valorant, and going back to that, like that's been a pretty fun one. Been a big hit. Like I don't know, a lot of these games they come out, they get a ton of steam off the bat and they taper off. I think it's in its tapered off space, but it's still got lots of players and lots of the CS:GO like ex pros had like come over and they were trying the game out and they have good things to say about it. I mean, it suffers from different issues. I'm not a high level player at either end, but whether it's CS:GO or Valorant, but They each have their own flaws, I should say.
So Among Us, how does that game work? So there's a couple people. There's always someone that's a bad guy or something.
Yeah. So basically, the way it works is you can load into a lobby with like max 10 people. Okay. So let's just assume it's a 10-person game.
Yeah.
With 10 people, there's going to be 2 imposters. And so basically your whole goal, if you're a crewmate, so there's going to be 8 crewmates and 2 imposters. Your goal as a crewmate is to fix up the ship or fix up the environment or whatever it is to once you complete all these little basic tasks, you win the game.
Yeah.
And they're super easy. They're like counting numbers of like from 1 to 10. They're not meant to be hard tasks. They're just meant to waste your time. And then the 2 imposters have to run around and kill people. So you're killing these people, but then what happens is, so there's like, if you find a dead body, you report it, and then there's a meeting. And the meeting is the fun part. So your mics are muted the whole time. So you can't talk while you're playing the actual game. But once there's a meeting called, everyone unmutes, and then you have to try and figure out who killed the person or who the imposters are. Basically, you're just trying to figure out who the imposters are and then vote them off the ship. So if they get a vote, so if the majority of the crewmates or everybody gets a vote, even the imposters, if the imposters get voted off, like then you vote off both the imposters, you win the game.
Yeah.
But it's you trying to vote off the imposters, and it's super fun because like you're getting in a heated argument with your friends about who killed one of your other friends, and they have to sit there on the call muted, like fuck this, like they know who did it, like they came up, they like snapped your neck, you have to stay muted when you're dead, and then like it's just all these people arguing about who killed who and who did it and why, right? So it's like you're trying to create like alibis. You're like, no, I was on this side of the ship, like I couldn't have done it, I was over here with this person, they'll back me up, and it's like a social manipulation game, and it's super fun.
I feel like that would be very good at that game. I feel like it's a mix of like Clue and Settlers of Catan.
And there's no like real mechanics, right? Like you can't be bad. Like
perfect for me.
Can be right. Like I would recommend go watching. I would recommend go watching like a couple of YouTube videos of it. It's fun. It's even fun watching people play it. So like playing it yourself is even pretty fun. The only downside with it is like it's really fun with 10 people. It's pretty fun with 9, pretty fun with 8. But any less than that, it's kind of
because that's what I found. A bunch of my friends are like, hey, like, do you have Among Us? And like everyone's trying to, everyone's
trying to recruit people.
Exactly.
Looking for people to play with to get the numbers up because it's super fun. Sure. And it's pretty casual. Like you're playing it while sipping beers and stuff, and it's not. No one's taking it seriously because at the end of the round, like once the game's over, whether the imposters win or the crewmates win, you just fire up another one and it picks another random 2 imposters and you just go again. It's fun. It's
how long is the full game of that?
Man, it does depend.
Okay.
Because like the meetings, I think each last like 90 seconds, or you can change the parameters of it. But
for sure, yeah.
But I would say it's probably like 20 minutes max.
Okay.
The games can end in like 5 though too, so it's very 20 minutes would be the maximum game for sure.
And I think that was one of the biggest things I like about it. If not only that it's super fun, but it also cuts that average game time down to that 10 to 15 minutes, where a normal game of League could be anywhere from like 15 to 45, right?
Yeah,
even longer.
You can get up to 50 plus. And
I've played a couple of those.
By the end of those games, you're like, holy shit! Like I need to get a break from this game. So no, the Among Us is super fun. I'd recommend it to anybody who's listening and wants to play. Oh yeah, I guess you need friends who are also playing it to play.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the big downside.
So can you just join random groups of it too and just play with random people?
You can, but I've heard kind of bad things about it.
Oh yeah, like it's way more fun with friends.
Yeah, it's like there's an honor code. Like you're when you're with your friends, you're not gonna like unmute while you're dead and be like, it was this person. Do you like be a dick? But like if you're
I thought it was like part of the game where it would mute you.
No, you played on Discord actually, so like it doesn't have its own in-game chat. But
gotcha.
Actually, it's funny with the success of it. I think Discord's like stock went up because
really
people were downloading Discord to play the game. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, no, it's cool. It's been interesting to play, and it's been out for I don't know maybe a month or so, and it's been a lot of fun. Whenever we do get to play it, it's hard to get the numbers though.
Yeah, it is tough to get enough people and that's what I said. I just got added to a Discord group today, and they're all saying like, "Who's all in for tonight?" and all this stuff. And I'm like, "Oh,
yeah." Well, Nick, we might need you to come join our Among Us games, man.
I'm worried to download Steam on this computer because I'm running until I get an actual PC. I'm worried to download any more programs on this because this computer's crashed a couple times. I do all my podcasting from it. I do everything from it, right? Like I'm even worried to play a couple games of League, right? I pretty much only play League. Like I'll just throw in a couple bots games because it's just trying to run this as easy as possible, put this computer through as little stress as I can, and just make sure it runs. Because my big worry is that it's going to crash one day, and I'll have a couple podcasts booked into it that I have recorded that are going to get lost, and I'm just so worried about that. But then in trying to build this new computer that I don't know, it's a graphics card, some 3080. Again, not really in on it, but there's some.
I think you're talking about the new, like the NVIDIA graphics card.
Yeah. And it's so hard to get my hands on. Well, not me. The people who are helping me build this computer are trying to get their hands on it for me, but apparently it's so hard to get to that it's really pushing back the timeline of me getting this computer. So it's really kind of throwing a wrench into my gaming plans. But oh well.
No, and like you can like the nice thing about Steam is like you can download it. Let's say you download it on your laptop, you buy a game, you download that game on your laptop. When you get the new computer, you sign up, you log into your Steam account there, and you just download it on your new computer too. So like you would have, it's not like you'd have to reinstall the game. I know you're worried about your laptop's capability and survivability. But no, you could do it right now and it'd be good as long as your computer stayed alive.
So like how long have you had Steam?
Oh man, since I bought my first computer, since I was like 18. So
holy shit,
8 years, yeah. Like Steam's free. It's just like a library, honestly, of games.
But I'm just wondering, like how many games do you have on your Steam account over those 8 years if it just keeps carrying forward?
So many.
That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm excited about.
I wish like there's some that I wish I could get rid of, right?
Yeah.
Look, like I'll give you the count because I feel like it's a lot, and like there's games on here in my library that I've paid for, bought, and just never played. Like I just got a little because they have this like summer sale every year, and they cut the games prices, and like they're literally like the game that's worth $20 will be like for $3, and you're like, well, I might play that one day, and then you
I'll try it out.
Yeah. So let's see, it's got a count here. That can't be right.
9,000.
No, that can't be right. I'm 77. I think it's 77.
Oh, that's a good chunk of games. What about like old games? Is there like
it says 177, 179, but it says based off of my filter. Anyway, I think it's 77. That's probably the correct number.
Yeah. That's crazy. So then what about like old games, like old like N64 games and like old PS2 games? Are those on there? Or is it just kind of indie games and current ones?
No, those don't come on there. Sometimes do. Like Crash Bandicoot. Well, I guess they just remade that. To play those games, what you do is you go like all those N64 games, like you said, the PlayStation 1. You can go you go download an emulator.
Yeah.
And then you run it like that. And those are super easy to get, especially like N64 and like Game Boy and
I've definitely downloaded a couple Game Boy emulators on my computer
it's so
in
fun.
My day.
Yeah.
Oh,
and like
Pokemon randomizers are the best thing I've ever had.
Really? See, I've been wanting to do one of those, and I haven't done it.
Oh, you got to do it.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I don't know when I found this, but go ahead.
Go on. No, I had nothing to say.
Yeah, no. So, like, for people that don't know, so there's those old Pokemon games for Game Boy, and they were so much fun, and probably everybody played one at one point or another. And there you have just so much going for them. Just the base infrastructure of the game is so much fun, but it gets a little bit stale once you've played it through maybe 30, 40 times in your life, which is not unheard of for a lot of people because they were such fun games and they came out when you were so young. So you could take this game that I remember, I think I was maybe, I don't know, 6 or 7. I don't know when Pokemon Red and Blue came out. It was sometime in the 90s. So I was quite young and I played those games through, and then you go through and you can, when you download it on an emulator, you can change certain things. So you can change the parameters of the game and change it around so that it randomizes certain things. And it's like a whole new game, and it makes it so much fun. And you can add certain things and make it, you can just, and I think that's what's so cool about it, which I've said this, so apologies if people have heard this before, but I think it's so cool to me that there's games that are years and years old at this point, but they're still fresh and people are still making millions of dollars streaming these games, right? Like think of how many people are streaming Super Mario 64. I always use that one as an example. People speedrunning and stuff, and the speedrunning community. Do you ever watch speedruns?
I do. I don't know why.
I love speedruns. Me too.
I love watching them.
Me too.
So insane watching people
love speedruns.
Take this game that you played when you were 6 and they just break it. Like they're so good at it, they break the whole way it was supposed to be. You're like, huh? Like I'm always fascinated, like what kind of a person you have to be like, like, that run was a half a second too short, like half a second too short. It's like, I gotta get better. I'm like, what makes you want to do that? I'll never understand, but it's fascinating for sure.
And then it's super fun to watch like the old school games, but then you take a game like Breath of the Wild, which is just like a newer release, is probably releasing like maybe like 2017, and it is like one of the hugest games. Like it has this ginormous map, has so much to it, and these people will do 100% speed runs of Breath of the Wild. So it's you have to get everything in this game. And they started out there probably like, I think the first couple were like 60, 70 hours, like people, and they would have certain rules around because there's communities surrounding them. So they'll say like, okay, you get two 9-hour sleep and eating or sleep breaks because you can eat, I guess, while you're playing or whatever, but you get 2 9-hour sleep breaks. And then if you go over those, you just have to keep running the clock if you want to take any breaks. But now, so I watched, I put it up to three times speed. Yeah. Oh, well, I didn't watch like any of the, I watched, there's one guy that did them, and I'd watch bits and pieces and I just speed it up to 3 times so I could just kind of watch and just listen to some of it, because it is kind of casual at that point, because you're not going to get a world record on your first couple of attempts because you're just trying to figure out the routes and stuff. But now they're down to like 22 hours now, 18 hours and 7. And it's amazing to see the size of this game and how they're bringing it down. And you just know that in a couple of years time, you're going to be looking back and they're going to be doing it in like 10 hours or something. It's going to be amazing. Just the size of what they're doing and just the communities that surround them that are finding all these little tips and tricks and optimizations and the tools they build. They'll build complete tools just around like figuring out this 20-year-old video game and ways to make it beat even faster. And there's thousands and thousands of people working on it. And it's just amazing. People are completely unaware, right? Yeah. If you go to ask somebody on the street what a speed run is, they I don't know, like don't know. A foot race, like, right? Like it's amazing. These communities and all the, and the money that is behind all these, right? And these people that are making livings playing these video games, and people are completely unaware of it.
Yeah, no, it's crazy, man. Like I saw one video, like the most recent, like little series of speed runs I was looking at was like someone like GoldenEye. Fucking N64 GoldenEye. Like that had been a speed run like forever. Like everyone thought it was like maxed out.
Yeah,
and
there's no way it
was going to go up anymore, right? And then somebody played it, and they found this one little tiny little exploit that they were able to grind like an extra like 0.001 second off it, and it was it was big enough that it came up on my YouTube recommended. Like, this guy had moved the needle on this fucking speed run. I don't know why I like watching them, but it's so fun to watch them. I don't know. And there's so many different types too, right? Like there's the 100%, like you said, like everything in Breath of the Wild. There's some that are just like the credits. There's some that are like the no glitch, finish the game, or no glitch 100%, or like I'm not naming any of these categories probably properly, but like there's so many cool ones. Like some are just I know there's like Pokemon ones where it's just you beat the Elite Four. That's it. Yeah, like it doesn't matter how you do it, but you just beat the Elite Four with the speed. Yeah, it's cool to see all these different variations of it. I don't know. It's
it's so cool to just find these
YouTube wormhole to go down.
Is it ever? And then a couple times a year they'll do these events called Games Done Quick, where all the best speedrunners will apply. So say you've been running a game, and a lot of the time it's the world record holders in that category or something, but they'll apply. You apply to the organization or whatever for whatever game you want to play, and they'll give you like a block. And if you're the best person for that, they'll build it so they have time slots, and you have an approximate that you're trying to aim for, and then you're trying to beat that, right? So you want to put in a good approximate so that you get into the thing, because if you put it too high, you're not going to get into the event. But if you put it too low, now you're going to look like an idiot because you're not going to hit it, and you're going to look stupid if you miss the approximate by a bunch of time. But then it's just hours and hours, and they'll usually group it by like game styles and stuff, and they run all through the night, and it's all raising money, so people are donating as they go. And they raise millions and millions of dollars for Doctors Without Borders was one. They've done one for cancer. I've seen, like, they do them 1 or 2 times a year, and they make so much money, and they're so much fun to watch, and I just love it. I love the community about them. Man. I was thinking about it one day.
It feels like such a wholesome community, like,
it is. That's exactly the part that I love. They're all just so like, they're happy for each other when they find a new level. Like, it's just such a little, like, I know I'm not a part of it, but like looking in from the outside, and I'm like, oh, that's nice. Like, I'm glad they're having fun. I know. I was actually thinking about that, Evan. I was thinking, like, how much fun would it be for me one day to go to one of those games on quick and just podcast with a bunch of those people that do that and just kind of get all their stories out doing these speed runs, because you're right. It's such a positive community. I think that's half the reason I love it so much, is there's no negativity on it. They're all supportive of each other. They all want to see each other do good. Like, it's about figuring out the best ways, and then because it's all about finding the best route, right? Like, there's ways you can either just be really good at the game and optimize it that way, or you can find a new way to, like, a new route through the game, or a new glitch, or a new something to do it. But then once that's found, and
everybody does it.
Sometimes people keep them hidden, but it's kind of taboo to keep things hidden, right? Like, but you can only keep it hidden so long.
They have to release a video of them doing it to prove they did
exactly.
It, right? So it's like everyone is like, oh, now I can take my run with this technique. It's
and since they know they have to release a video, and eventually people will, because there's thousands of people looking at it and figuring these things out, they know that eventually someone's going to figure out what they did. So pretty much everyone just releases exactly how they did it, but then it's just a race for now with this new route and this new optimization. Now, who can be the first one? So these world records are always changing hands, and it's always this arms race of them. And certain games have certain, there's certain games that are super big in speedrun. Like Super Mario is very big in, like, 64. Like, that old game is still huge in speedrunning. And these people,
it's the simple ones, actually. It's the simple ones that people really can min max on. Like, it's hard to. Hard to speed, like Breath of the Wild was weird. Like, I didn't know they speed ran that because of how how big it is. Like, that's insane that someone
it's nuts
fathom doing that. Whereas like Mario, that's a good one. That's like that game has been around for so long. Like, you can find these tricks, right? You can find all these glitches. Pokemon is one of my favorite ones to watch. Because there's so much RNG involved. You can tell that they're like some like minor inconvenience happens. Like, well, this one's done. Like this.
Exactly.
Speed runs over.
They're 2 hours in. One little thing happens. Okay, reset.
And then it'll be like exactly. Like they'll get an unlucky crit. Their guy will die. They're like, well, okay, this one's done. I'm gonna restart. I'm like, oh my god, really? Like, that's all it took? And it's crazy.
And the Pokemon one specifically, like, I mean, all speedruns are like this, but you just when you listen to them narrate what they're doing and what they're thinking of and how much knowledge they have of the game, you almost need like a university degree in this certain game to be able to run it to that. Like, there's so much information they're taking on. It just blows my mind that people are that big brain to be able to handle all that and keep that on. And then it's one thing to understand all that, but then once there's also these things called splits. So as they're going through, as they run, there's certain parts of the game when they get to it, they hit a button and it stops at the timer, and it shows like that compared to their personal best. It'll show like
right?
Like a lap, exactly. So it'll say like, oh, you're 4 seconds off your pace, or you're 4 seconds on your pace. So they usually know,
that's what it's called.
If you're on like world record pace or something. So then they're always they're streaming these runs, right? So they'll be on Twitch and they'll be streaming all day, and maybe they're 2 hours into a run, and the world record's 2.5 hours, and they're 30 seconds on pace for world record. You'll see the numbers of people start to grow. Have you ever watched a world record live?
No. I watch a lot of the videos afterwards on YouTube where it's like,
me too.
They get all excited. They're so jazzed.
Yeah. I got to see one live world record. I think it was a Pokemon Yellow. I can't remember who it was, but that's a thing, because all these people start to they go into other chats and Twitch like, oh, so and so's on world record pace. Like, come to it. So you just see the numbers start to grow and grow and grow. So by the time they're like, 10 minutes, there's huge pressure, because a lot of times these streamers, this is the biggest audience they've ever had. So now just out of nowhere, usually they have, maybe 40, 50 people watching them. And they're trying to focus. Yeah, exactly. So then they're on world record pace. There's all this pressure on them. And now there's 10,000 people watching them. They're on world record pace and they're going for it. And you don't know if they're gonna fuck up, or if the pressure's gonna get to them, or they're gonna crack, or something gonna happen. Or some games have RNG involved where it could be, they could do everything perfectly and still something could happen where they lose it. And it's interesting to watch and how positive the community, and then to watch everyone just go nuts in the pop-ups they have when they get it. Oh, it's such a cool community. Oh, I'm glad you watched those.
It's so fun. I know it's such a weird niche thing. I never talked about it with anybody because like, I think God will sometimes walk by. He's like, "What do you watch?" I'm like, "Oh, just some speedrun of a game I've never played." Like I don't know why. I'm just like, it's intriguing. Like you said, to watch like their sort of thought process and like, I don't know. It's a weird little community, and it just goes to show like how versatile like video games are, man. Like you can play online a game against other people. You can play this old game from 20 years ago and just try and speed run it, and I don't know, there's just so much there. You can enjoy a game any way you like.
Exactly. But that's what I love so much about it, is to see a game that you love so much. Like one of my favorite things, Evan, is to find a game that you forget about. You play so many video games over your life that you forget what ones you played, but then you find a game that you really loved, and then you find out that there's a speedrun community around it. Like that's how I felt like when I found I'm trying to think of a good example of them, but like the Pokemon ones, like you just hadn't even thought of that one game, and then you find that there's this whole new way for you to experience your love of this game. Like it's not something you could ever do, right? Like you'd never put the time into figure out these speedruns, but you get to watch this and enjoy this game, like, and the nostalgia surrounding it so much. And that's what was so exciting for me to see, that people were starting to get into 100%ing Breath of the Wild, because that was my favorite game. I think that's probably still my favorite game of all time. I mean, it was always Zelda Ocarina of Time was my favorite game of all time. And I think Breath of the Wild took its place. And then to see people just, that's a whole new way I'm going to get to experience it. And because it is so huge and it's going to be optimized, that's going to be optimized for 40 years. There's going to be people always breaking that record for the next 40 years, and it's going to get lower and lower. Yeah, that's what I'm so excited. As soon as I don't know why I ever thought, I thought it was too big. I thought there's no way.
It's too big. It is too big. Like for us, like as a casual game, like I don't know how you'd ever want to dedicate that, but someone's going to do it.
Exactly. Someone's going to do it. And that's what's so cool. And to see it when it was at like 60 hours or whatever, I'm thinking like, I can't get much optimized past that. So I'm thinking like probably 50 is like the max, right? Like, because it's just such a huge game. But to see it under 24 hours now blows my mind. Like, how are they? It's so, and the kind of tips and tricks that they do, because it's a mix of mechanics and being really good at the game and knowing how to do all these little glitches and optimizations. It's so cool to watch what they go through. Yeah. Oh, that's funny to talk about speed running. And that's something I've been, I've reached out to a couple people that have done speedrun. I've got snubbed pretty hard because they're pretty big guys, but I'm going to keep trying to have speedrunners on, because I'd love to talk about that experience of learning a game to that degree, and that feeling of being on world record pace or a PB pace, right? And losing one and all that kind of stuff. I just think it'd be so interesting, because I'm so interested by them, but I'm keeping on trying. I haven't had much luck yet, but that's definitely one of the areas that I've definitely wanted to have people on. So it's funny to talk to somebody about it.
No, honestly, I don't think I've talked with many people about it. It's just an interesting thing to watch. I don't know.
And
so good. Interesting thing to watch that I never want to do personally.
Yeah, exactly. There's nothing inside me that makes me want to do it. Yeah, not even a little bit.
I like watching other people do it though.
Yeah, exactly. And then you'll find like even and the thing that gets me is there's speedruns for anything. If you've ever played a video game, you go on speedrun.com and look for there's speedruns for it, and probably a bunch of different categories. Speedrun, for sure. I guarantee there is. Online chess, there's speedruns for everything, and it's just so it's fun to find these new ways, just like the emulators where you can add randomizations into it, right? There's just new ways that you can enjoy these games that you have so much nostalgia with, or games that you like Breath of the Wild where you really loved it, but you've kind of played it a couple times. There's not much more you can get out of it by you playing, but now you can still enjoy that game on a different topic too, or just in a different way. And what I love about it too is I like to speed everything up when I watch it too. So then I'll watch a speed run, like an hour speed run on double speed. So I can, in half an hour, I can watch the whole thing and get kind of that out of it. But it's just the efficiency of it is awesome.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Well, what else haven't I asked you about? I don't want to keep you too late. It looks like it's getting too little late in your house there. She's getting a little dark.
I need to take a piss and I need to turn the light on.
All right. Okay. Let's go take a piss. I'll find my last couple of questions, and then I'll let you get back to your League of Legends.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. See you in a bit.
No one really cares, and that's fine. That's totally that's good. But I'm just like, how do we? I don't know. How do you move the needle elsewhere? How do you help other people help themselves, help you? I don't know. I'm kind of speaking nonsense right now because since I'm dealing with it, I'm like, I obviously haven't figured it out. So I hear you. And speaking about efficiency, like it's just it's so weird building processes for people because it's so hard to figure out what people want, what their actual end goal is when they're not telling you that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Right? They kind of honey dick you. You're like, oh yeah, I pitched them something like, oh yeah, that's good. I'm like, tell me if it isn't. Because if it isn't, I'll do something else. Like I am
exactly.
I don't know.
No, I hear that so much of the time. It's, you pitch like, hey, I think I could do this, this, or this, and you just hear silence. And I need a little bit of input for this to work. It has to be a bit of 2A. And I feel that a lot of times. You get onto it, and it's not a lot coming back.
So I've kind of hit that point where I'm like, man, like I don't like. I used to spend when I first started working here. I used to spend all my time, all my free time, just making processes to make my job easier. And I don't want to say I've hit the top of it, but like I've got to this point where I'm like, man, like I can't. If I make it any easier, I might as well just like, hey, go hire some guy fresh out. He can do it now. I don't. You don't need me.
Exactly.
So like,
you optimize yourself out of a job.
Exactly. So I don't know, and it's just I don't know. That's the game, I guess, right? When you're optimizing stuff, that's it's like, how do I keep myself around a little bit relevant? I don't know. I feel like I'm coasting right now.
I hear you. I hear you. Yeah. But then there's always things to be optimized. If you have that, if the skill that you're working on, the skill that you're creating is optimizing anything, and doesn't matter what it is, you can optimize it. That's a skill that'll pay off to no matter what job you're doing, no matter where you're going, right? And that's the way I'm trying to look at it too. Is just the skills that I'm putting in work, it's not all optimization. That is a big part of what I do too. It's less it's more in terms of finding procedures and finding things and interactions and changing positions around and putting people in place and maybe creating roles and creating actual like we could hire for this position, take this off, this piece off this person, make it into one role, have everyone bring everything to this person. Like they're going to input all the pricing for the company. We have all these salesmen that are bringing pricing to just whoever's in their location, just a little admin person that's doing it there, but then pricing's getting inputted. Okay, well, let's bring this all, create one role, figure out a way for everything to come in there and do that. But it's so tough to get the buy-in for everybody to want to do it, even though it's very obvious that it's going to help in the long run. If it's a little tiny bit of extra work at the start, nobody wants to do it, right?
It's so tough to make change.
Nobody likes change.
Nobody likes it. Even if it's going to benefit them in the long run, like, you almost have to sell them on it first.
Yeah.
Like you're like, hey, like, because I've asked this to like some of the people at work. I'm like, what would make your life easier? Like, I'm about to do this. I'm like, what about it would make your life easier? And they're like, oh, like this would be great. I'm like, perfect. I'm gonna make something for me that has this in mind, and like you can kind of play off that, but like because people just hate change. So when you're doing it, you really got to make sure that the change isn't some. You want to add process without making the process a burden. And I think that's the tough part is I find a lot. I'm in an office where I'm one of the younger people there. I'm probably one of the more technology savvy people there. So it's it's really tough to try and get these people. Like I want to help them. I want to help you.
Yeah.
And it's just, how do you make that work? And on a day to day and it's funny on top of that too, though, is you also learn the skill of how to sell it to people and how to, not only you're learning how to optimize it, but you're learning how to pitch it in the right way so that it's received the right way and how to work with all those other people. Like it's all these skills that you're applying by going through that are going to pay so much dividends going forward. Right. But it's the people that are just happy with what they're doing, that aren't learning anything new. They're happy with how they do things. They're just going to do it the same way every day. And, I don't get yelled at. I don't get promoted. Nothing happens. I get my same paycheck and I'm fine with that. And the thought of that makes me makes that fear, stomach pain, like the thought of that for the rest of my life makes me so scared. I have such an adverse reaction to that trying to implement and trying to make change is what keeps me there. Right. If that wasn't an option, I had to just keep things static of how it was and we couldn't make change, I would lose my mind. And that's what's so frustrating for me is I only have a certain amount, and probably would be frustrating for you too, is there's more, I want to change more things than I have the ability to change. Like I only have a certain amount at a certain level you hit, everybody has a boss. Doesn't matter what you do. Everybody has a boss at some level, right? Even, you can give me any example and I'll figure out a way to say that they have a boss. It might be in a really abstract roundabout way, but everybody does. There's always constraints on what you can do. And I feel like that's what drives me nuts. And I feel like that's what you're feeling too, is not only do I want everything I'm doing to be working towards my goal and something for me,
but also I want to never have to hit something where I know this would be best and I know this would help, but I don't have the approval to do it. Right. And that's what drives me nuts is when you hit that level where everything is out of your control and you know that there's things that are wrong and there's things that you're unable to fix, but there's nothing you can do about it. And that just drives me absolutely bananas at work sometimes, right? When you just run into that.
No, I agree. And like right now, like we're a fairly, I don't know, I would say a moderate sized company. And I just think it's hard to make these large overarching changes. So I can't, I obviously can't where I'm at right now, without really getting the right people to back it. And how do you get that? Who are the people? Like I want to our whole data, the whole data management system is just terrible. We are a dinosaur. Like we might as well be. You might as well hand me a paper copy of everything for fuck's sake.
Yeah,
like it's just so bad, and like I can't overhaul the whole data management system. Or I want it to be overhauled, and I want to have some input on it. But fuck, I cannot do it myself. And like even if you gave me the power to do it right now, I don't even think I could. I don't think that's a one-person job. Like,
you need a team almost.
You need a team, and trying to convince people that it's worth the money has been tough.
For sure.
And like I think another one. This is especially when I talk about data. I was talking to this with some of like our VPs. One who is like he's no longer like with the company. He almost went the other way. Like I was like, hey, we've got problems with our core data. Like that's flawed. He's like, well, okay, but he wanted to do machine learning projects and stuff. He wanted to go like the AI route. And I'm like, look, like we can't until this is taken care of. Like that's cart before the
AI
horse.
runs on data.
I'm like, what do you think? Like, so I did it for him. And I'm like, okay, well, look, like here's the numbers, but like this is. Like
exactly,
like this is the numbers from what we fed it. Like I don't know what to tell you.
I know. I had the exact same thing today, Evan. We're talking about an inventory process, and we're talking about all these inventory processes. But the inventory we're working with is already out. Like we have to get it under control and fix that, and then all these processes we're putting in place going forward will help it. But until you fix the core base of it, all these processes are for nothing. And obviously, people are going to get frustrated that these processes aren't working. But the processes are working. You're just using bad data. Right. In this term, it's just the data of what inventory you have. Right. When this is all out to whack and you think you're over on this, under on this, and that's all out to whack, until you get that evened out and cleared out, you can put processes till you're blue in the face. It's not going to help nothing. Right. And it's the same way with everything. It's so funny to hear businesses that are completely different having the exact same issues. Right. Like it's funny.
I think that's going to be
human nature.
I think that's just right now the way that like I would call this, from the 90s to now is a digital transformation. The internet changed everything, and a lot of organizations are going to struggle to set it up. Like, but that's where you look at the companies that have obviously done it well. Your Googles, your Amazons. They have the most data you can't even imagine what they have and what they know and what they do, and that's why they have the valuations that they do. That's also the market they're in.
Well, Amazon Web Service can make so much money that they can take a loss on all. They can sell you this desk that I have for less than cost because they can take a loss and write off the taxes. They don't have to pay any tax because Amazon Web Services make so much money hand over fist. They just lose money on all these Amazon bestsellers or whatever. Yeah, Amazon Basics. They can sell them for less than cost just to write off on tax. So they don't have to pay any tax. And now they're this behemoth web service thing that's making them trillions of dollars is just completely tax free because they have this whole other side of the business that's just pretty much a tax write off. But but this tax write off is what the world runs on. The world runs on Amazon's tax write off. It's fucked, right? Like to just wrap your mind around that fact is so absurd, right?
That's why I don't even bother looking at it. I think it would just make me fucking depressed.
Yeah, it makes you sick. Exactly.
Like you just be like, Jesus, this is what they're doing. I'm like, never mind. I'm just gonna order my fucking water feature and get out of here.
Yeah, and everyone's like, oh, Amazon's making so much money. Everyone's ordering all this stuff. It's like, that's not even where they're making their money. People are so like, because it seems so in your face and everyone's ordering from Amazon, but that's not even the part of their business that's making them money. It's all the data
really
side.
True? I have not looked into it at all.
It's not. I think I'm exaggerating a little bit, but for a large part of it, they take losses on their actual product delivery side. But the Amazon Web Services makes so much money and runs so much of the world you wouldn't even realize it.
I'm gonna go check that later because you can. Yeah. It'll be in their public finances for sure.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's stuff like that just it blows your mind, right? Like just things like that. Oh, yeah. No, for sure. But that's cool to me to hear that you're doing that stuff, because I more so what I wanted to get out of it was just make sure that I just feel like you can do so many things that I'd just be so I hope you're happy with where you're working, because I think you are a stud, and I think whatever company employed you would be happy to have you. And I feel like I'm saying that about you, but I feel like that about myself too. I just think guys like us that are willing to do that want to do it. Whatever company we went with, it doesn't matter if they're selling peanuts or
yeah,
a dirt bike track or anything, we would figure out a way to make that business better. And I feel like that is so much of what business school should have been. I feel like that's why I was disappointed. I feel like so much of business school was, I guess, for my degree, and it sounds like our degrees maybe differed a little bit on that, but so much of it was trying to put you into boxes and wasn't showing you that aspect of just how to run a business. And I think that was a big difference. Was I got to watch. My dad was a very successful businessman. Always was starting new companies and doing this stuff. From a young age, I got to watch him do that. I got to see how running a business really works and those kind of aspects, and just what you need to do to make it work. And then that was my base. And then I went to school and I learned some more tools to do that. But I feel like when you go to school, they don't teach any of that base. They're just giving you tools, but they don't have any understanding of that. And I feel like there's guys, I feel like you had that already intuitively in you, because before you were even in business, you didn't learn that from business school. I saw that in you from the day I met you. You were already like that. You had tons of different knowledge bases. If you were interested in it, you would dive into it, and you would learn it, and you would make it happen, right? If it grabbed your attention. I think that's what's so cool about those people, because those are the people that are going to make things happen. I'm excited to see what you do in the future, whether it's with this company or other companies, or starting your own company.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I feel like kind of what you said is like you can't really teach business. You can teach certain business skills. Like, you can go into finance and learn financing, and accounting and learn accounting, but like you can't really teach like someone to be like a salesperson, right? Like that. Like you can teach them a few tricks and stuff, but like can you really teach that? Nope. I don't think you can.
Exactly. Did you ever take a negotiations class in school?
No, but because I figured like it would just be too. I don't want to say it would be too easy, but
it was.
I just feel like, for me, I'm like, I look at those kind of courses, I'm like, that's such bullshit. Like, I'm not gonna waste my time doing that. Cause I'm like, it's gonna teach you like weird ass shit, like enter the room first, and like, it'd be like in that weird, like, I don't know. I didn't take it. I'm completely speculating here, but that was one of those courses I was like, no, I'm not wasting.
Good call. Call.
Really?
I just found I felt like so much of it was a waste to me, other than like some of the Excel courses and that, and some of the accounting courses and that were useful. But so much of it that was like anything human resources, anything that's like was such bullshit, such terrible garbage. It was just absolute shit.
No,
and
those
were the ones where if you didn't follow their, like, I feel like there's this idea. I don't really want to get it, but just so much of it was, there's one way to do it, and if you disagree, even if it's very obvious to me, who had worked in business and understood business, I think to a different degree than even some of the profs did. If you didn't agree with them, even if you said like, there's no way that will work in the real world, and you gave really good, well-reasoned reason why that this wouldn't work, and this is actually stupid, this textbook's wrong, it didn't matter, because unless you put this down, you're going to get the question wrong, and you could go and you could argue with the prof, and you just had to find their way.
Yeah. And like, I like to think of it a little bit like this: is if these people are teaching business, why aren't they in business?
No shit.
Like,
hey?
they're teaching, and like, I'm not knocking teachers or professors at all. Like, the best course I ever took, my favorite course, was the one I did the worst at. It was forecasting. So it was statistical forecasting for managers, I think it was. And so this guy's not a business guy. He's a statistician or something of that nature. And like, that was my favorite course, and I sucked at it. And that's what I now do basically for myself. Because I was like it was hard, but it was interesting, and it was fascinating to find all these techniques. And that's what like drove me to like learn more about it and get better at it. And like, but that wasn't really businessy. You know, it didn't feel like I was taking a business course. It felt like I was taking a stats course. A lot of the businessy courses I didn't really like, because
me too.
They seemed so like, we did one that was on strategy, and the whole course was like, you have this online, it's like this it's like this little game you're playing with the rest of your classmates where you all you're all selling widgets and you sort of like invest money into making them like cheaper or making them better. And it was like moving it along this matrix. I'm like, this matrix is fake. Like, that's not how business actually works. Like, you don't sit there and be like, oh, we should make our stuff more the high class. And like, you don't say it like that. You don't do it like that. Yes, that is actually happening, but like, you're not really portraying it like that. Like, if you want to have a consumer luxury good, like, you're talking about it differently. I don't know. It was just so fake.
It's disingenuous to the real world.
Yeah. And a lot of business courses were like that. Yeah. That's why the only one I really tried super hard on was this consulting course, because I was like, this is a real company that has a real problem that I'm actually trying to help them solve.
Exactly. And that gets you fired up, and then you're excited about it. That
motivated me so much. Yeah. So, like, that's why I tried so hard on that course. And they obviously realized that, like, okay, he's actually worth something. So that's why they hired me on later. Like, and I knew that.
Exactly. Yeah.
And like, I talk about that a lot because I got pretty lucky getting hired. Like, they hired me before I even wrote my lasts, like during finals, like before finals. Yeah. So I didn't have to worry about applying for jobs and studying for finals. Yeah. It was nice. But like, realistically, it was just because I put in so much work onto that project and I'd like to do it because I'm like, this is real world savings. Like, this is real money. It's not some fake fucking widget that I'm moving up and down the slider.
Exactly.
Right? I don't know. It just changes the way that you, the way you approach it.
Exactly. And that's what I found too, is my marks in all of university was 100% correlated to how much I actually cared about the course. If I didn't give a fuck about it, C's for sure. Right. Yeah. If I cared about it, I'd do well in that course. Right. Like accounting, the financial accounting was also hard, but it didn't really grab me. I wasn't really excited about it. It was just kind of something I had to get through because it was one of those courses you had to. But then you take managerial accounting, where it's the same kind of principles, but it's about like what product lines are profitable, which ones should we cut, like what are the best actual business, like making the business. I love that. I got A+ in that course because that was something that excited me. That's the actual stuff I like. That's actual business to me, right? The bean counting kind of stuff just never got me excited about it, so I always did really bad at it, right? But then you could see every course that I really enjoyed and I thought it was, or same with this one course we were supposed to take, I've talked about it on the podcast, and I keep forgetting this lady's name. I wish I could remember her name. I think I have it in emails, but this guy was supposed to teach. His name was Brian Leach, but it was when the NDP were doing their carbon tax, and they had assembled a team to write the carbon tax and kind of come up with how they would implement it. And he was one of those people, so he had to take that semester off. So she came in, and she was an industry person. So she had worked her whole life, that she wasn't really a prof. She had just come in to teach this course. Right. But it was all about energy markets and stuff. And she was so fucking awesome because you could tell she'd actually worked in the real world. She would put kids in their place. She would
100% tell.
Exactly. You could tell immediately. And she commanded the room, and if kids were being dickheads, she'd like tell people to fuck off and stuff. And it was so, so real and so authentic that I bought in 100%. I love that course. I never went to class, but I went to her class because I enjoyed it. Right. And I got awesome marks in that class because
I also never went to class. I only went to
me and you were
liked. And fuck.
Yeah. Me and you were very similar. I think. Evan. We would, I think I probably took you down a bad path showing you that you didn't that early. Cause in first year I went to every class, first semester I went to every class. Right. But then, I got out of the first year and I kind of realized like, you don't really have to go to class. And as soon as my brain, how can I do this efficiently for me, of me enjoying this time more? What's efficient? If I can go to class every once in a while, study really, really hard for midterms and finals to make sure I pass them and get by. But then the time in between, I get to enjoy so much more because I can drink every night and play with my friends and dodgeball and dukes and all that kind of stuff. I enjoy this way more. So that was the way I was gaming the system, right? And I tell people I learned way more about business running the LDL than I ever did in business school, like how to have employees, how to hire, how to fire, how to manage people's personalities, how to do all those kind of things, how to manage a budget, how to make those tough decisions, how to, some really tough shit went down with people breaking codes of ethics and really tough calls, right? Like people, because there's a lot of secrecy and stuff of like talking about stuff in like the all-star meetings and stuff that you all sign confidentiality, and what happens when you breach that. And it was one of our employees, like it was a head ref. What are the things you have to do? And going through that, it was so much preparation for like war rooming and doing stuff in the real world that I'm so thankful for it. And I was so close to not going for the LDL exec position. And it was Bill Pickering, who's been on this podcast, and Brendan Murphy, who will be on this podcast eventually, that sat me down in Duke's, gave me a bunch of LDL swag. I had, bottle openers and all this stuff. And they said, we see it in you. You need to do this. You are the right type of person. Right. And that's what I'm thankful for it every day, because that changed the trajectory of my whole life. And I think I would be very much a different person if they hadn't, because I learned so much through that process. Yeah. And it was just so cool for them to see that in me, because I wasn't seeing it myself. I didn't know what I was doing at that time, but they saw something. They must have saw something, because they really made it very clear that it was not an option. I was going to be an LDL exec that year, and I had to apply. And then I fucked up the interview super hard, and they went to bat for me because I was so nervous for it. I just froze right up and couldn't do it.
Really?
It was one of the most embarrassing moments of my life. I've only froze up like that.
I can't imagine you being nervous during it.
I know, but I love dodgeball so much, and I cared about it. And I think that's why I was scared, because I didn't think I was ready, Evan. I kept telling him, I said, no, I'm just gonna be an FC next year, and I want to be an LDL exec, but I need one more year. Who does LDL exec after 1 year, right? It was usually a third year or fourth year position, right? So I was just telling him like, no, and they said no, and Bill said no, I did it my second year, and Brandon said I did my second year, right? So they were the two guys. They said no, we see it in you, got to do it. And I was so nervous for it that I clammed right up. I froze right up, and they didn't want me. The LHSA members that were on that board that were making the decision, they did not want me.
That was LHSA, yeah.
Yeah, because that was at the time. It was because they were so linked. It was LHSA had a couple votes, and the outgoing execs had a couple votes. So that was Bill. It was Bill, Tyler Lobb, and I can picture him, and the finance exec. Anyway, but it was Bill who really went to bat for me. And even though I fucked up that interview, like I've never fucked up an interview, and it haunts me to this day. I get sick to my stomach thinking about freezing up like that. And it's only happened to me a couple of times, because you're right, I'm never nervous like that, even in front of people and that. But I cared about it so much, and I wanted it so badly that I just froze up. But they went to bat for me and said like, hey, that's not a representation. We know he can do it. And they fought for me, and it turned out great. And I think I did a really good job. I mean, that's toot my own horn, but I put my heart and soul into it. But because I cared about it, I put everything I could into making that league as good as I could. And it didn't feel like putting time into it. I wanted it to be the best it could. And then when things got busy for Josh and Justin in my first year towards the end, because Justin was in his first year of business, I think at that point, or maybe second year, it was really cranking up. He was in his second year of business, and it was, he was doing a finance degree. So it really got hard on him, and Josh was doing a high level econ. So they both kind of had stuff pulling him away, and I had to really pull up my bootstraps and really take on a lot more than probably what the role was supposed to be, because that was the first year that we had only one internal exec, I think, too, with them both being outside of Lister, and I was the only one in there. So when things came up, I was the only one that could run. I mean, you saw me that year. I was living with you that first year, but it was constant of just dealing with problems and running over there. But you learned so much. It seemed like such a headache at the time, but you're just absorbing, and you're learning all these lessons at such a rapid rate that I just felt like going into the next year, I had it all down pat, like, oh, this is going to be easy. And then you find out it's never easy, and there's always new things that can come up, but you get better and better at it. But it's just such a funny thing to go through and just have. I felt like it's hard to put a terminology on it, but I think you would know what I mean. Like the actual like business side, and you even said like the actual business kind of courses, like not the skills that come with business, like the skills to make you good at the skills that help you flex your business acumen almost, right? Like an accounting would help you flex your innate business savvy, but the actual they don't do anything to propagate actual business savviness within it. But I found the LDL did exactly that. The LDL is where I learned the savviness, and then the actual schoolwork is where I learned the tools to execute it.
Skills too, right? Like,
yeah, exactly. The people management skills. Yeah. It's hard to put a word on it, but I think you kind of get the gist of what I'm saying. But I was so thankful for that it allowed me to, and I just kind of luck of the draw, right? Just kind of where I went. If I wouldn't have went into Lister, I wouldn't have had that. If I would have done so many things differently, I could have.
Like, I hate playing that game. If you do the what if game,
I know. Yeah, you can't do it.
Yeah, like you could go. I could be anywhere right now.
Yeah.
So I try not to play that game, or else my mind will be gone. I'll be running.
You could be a starting safety for the Minnesota Vikings right now, Evan.
Yeah, sure. If I'm it's about 6 inches taller, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. 6 inches, 12 inches. Yeah.
Okay. Then. Yeah. So no, I know what you're saying. It's tough to put into words like what school. Like I learned a lot in my years of university. I just don't think any of it was in the classroom.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
I learned tons, and like kind of like what you said is like I skipped a lot of lectures, but I just found like I don't learn from people teaching it to me. I learned from struggling to do it by myself.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I got to struggle for it a little bit more, and that sucks, but I do learn it that way. And like, I'd get up, like when I was in school, I'd get up really early, make coffee, fucking, gas a pot of coffee for over 6 hours, 4 hours probably, but probably more accurate. Study for those 4 hours, and you're burnt out. And I'm like, okay, I'm done. Like, I could try to learn more. I don't think I could. And then I'd fuck off the rest of the day. And it was so interesting, like, because some people are like, oh, like, you don't do anything. Like, you're so lazy. Like, you don't go to class. Like, how are you still in school? I'm like, look, we just do it differently. Like, if you want to go to class,
exactly.
Absolutely. Go for it. I'm not shitting on your way. It just doesn't work for me.
Exactly.
That's kind of the way that I looked at it. And like, I think business, like we were talking on the business side of things, like there's things that work for me in business that just, I don't know. You can't, like you said, you can't really teach it, right? You can't teach that sort of that finesse, that little, and I don't always have it. I'll be honest. Sometimes I'm the one in meetings who's a little awkward. I'm just like, well, like I don't know. I build systems. That's what I like. I like to build systems, and like I don't have all the people skills. I feel like I'm pretty sociable enough, but like when it comes to like those meetings and like what you learned, like we were talking about learning stuff from like Lister. Like I learned toss. I learned tons about how to talk to people who I don't know to, and like small talk aspect. I fucking hate it. I never had to have another fucking conversation about the weather or the local sports teams ever again in my whole life. I could live without that, but I know you have to. And it's like this shit like that you learn, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah.
Oh man. Good times, man. It's just so funny to think back on all those years and all those fun times we had playing dodgeball and learning that stuff, and just all the lessons you're learning without even realize you're learning it, right? And it's funny to pick up on those. But then in talking about how you learn and stuff and just at different rates is, then when I graduated, Evan, then I'd never listened to a podcast in my life, but sitting there, I was working on a project, a big Excel project, very much like that. It was a sales sheet that I had to build, and it was about taking in all these aspects that a salesman has to take for selling fuel. The cartage that goes on the trucks, the fuel pricing, the blankets of the discounts and all that, putting it all into one place. And then when you sell a tank for the fuel to go in, and then how do you blend that? Like take the price, the cost of the tank, and then blend that back into a per liter fuel price, and then all the lubricants can go with it. I built this crazy sheet, but it was so mind numbing to like work on it and to figure out these problems. And it was really fun to do. But then I got to a point where I had to now enter all these lubricants, like our whole inventory, and it was just mind numbing data entry. And I was like, I'm going to die here. So I threw on, I didn't know how to find I had heard about podcasts, and I always wanted to check them out. And I was like, what are podcasts? So I Googled podcasts, and this Nerdist thing came up, and Nerdist is now a big company and stuff, but it was when they first started. And it was just their archive history. So it was their first 100 episodes were free on YouTube. So I was like, oh, I'll throw that on. And man, did I connect with these podcasts. Like, it's like a conversation. It's people that like, they're having big guests on that I really actually like, and I'm finding I'm learning so much. I learned like more doing the data entry, listening to these podcasts than I did in a whole semester of school. I'm like, holy shit, this is kind of interesting, but I didn't even think too much of it. And then I found Joe Rogan, and then I found all these other guys. And then I found that I was learning at a rate, like I was taking things in, and that was, like you say, everybody learns differently, but that was so lined up with how I learned so perfectly that I was off to the races. And I found that since that point, I've grown so much and I've learned so much that I'm almost not even the same person from that point that I listened to my first podcast to now. I don't even recognize that guy, right? Like in so many ways, and not just like the actual things you learn, but
the funny that you said that. I started getting into podcast, same thing. I had a sheet. I had a sheet that I just had to fill out, and it was just data entry. And I'm like, look, I'm gonna I can't even listen to music to this because it's too mind. I was like, I'm gonna find a podcast, and same thing. I looked it up on YouTube. I found some comedians podcast. That I'd seen. Like it was I think it's Your Mom's House from.
My favorite.
I love it. It's actually
I've been watching them since they're doing it out of their house, man. Have you seen their live episodes they put out just recently?
No, I haven't.
Oh my fucking God, Evan!
Train now that I'm at home. Are they good?
Okay. Oh,
they look like fire.
So they did these. So they've always been pushing the limit, right, with what they do. So they do these live events, and then they resell them. So if you go to Tom's website, they're under rentals and you can buy them for $10, but it's uncensored complete. And it is the wildest shit you will ever see. They started it. So the first one, the intro is them on their couch is this gay porn star with a stick in his ass, doing a toilet bowl with his legs pulled behind, and them throwing horseshoes, trying to land it on the stick in his ass. That's how they opened the show. And it was so funny because they had so many people. Because they're wild, but because they announce and they know they're comedians, but people don't know what type of comedians they are. They're so fucking funny, and so like their humor is so wild, and but because it was a live episode, that everyone, it was kind of got some buzz about it. So they said like their doctor was watching, like all their family was like, oh, they're doing a live episode, like we have to support this, like it's like pay-per-view. So they said they had all these people watching, and it was the wildest stuff. Like I'm just, anybody listening right now, if you have a very strong stomach and a strong constitution, and I definitely recommend watching at least a couple episodes of their podcast before, and don't listen to it. You got to watch it because they use clips and videos.
It's YouTube. Yeah.
You
have to watch it. You have to watch it.
Oh my God, Evan.
I used to watch it at work. So I'd have it like on my phone, and then like there'd be some graphic stuff that they'd show. Like, turn my phone upside down. I'm like, okay, I'll just listen for now. Like, go up on the desk at any moment. Like, what are you watching? It's it's a so wild funny podcast. I would recommend it. It's not very informative, but very entertaining.
No, it's so that one is pure entertainment. And that was the other thing, is I'd listen to some podcasts for just that, like the pure entertainment factor, because you know, you watch TV shows and stuff that are funny, sitcoms that are funny, but it's through a bunch of producers and it's all watered down, when it's just stand-up comedians who are they're just funny people being funny. Yeah, exactly. With no holds barred. On a podcast, you can do whatever you want. You can push whatever limits you're comfortable with pushing. You know, there's no one to tell you no except your sponsors, but you control what sponsors you have, and they know what they're getting into. If it's something like your mom's, people that sponsor that know what they're getting into.
They know what they're getting into. And like, it's a guy and his
unfiltered
wife, right?
comedy.
Like, two comedians. And they're both comedians. And it's like, it's just a funny show. Mm-hmm. I love it.
And what other podcasts you listen to?
So that's the thing. So that was the main one I watched. I used to listen to The Dive, which was the League of Legends. Yeah.
I listened to that.
NA1. Yeah, that one was pretty interesting, especially like around Worlds and stuff. And then I watched, not a good one right now, but before his sexual assault allegations, was Chris D'Elia's podcast.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I watched it too. I know that was a pretty good one.
But like I said, I only watched super bullshitty entertainment ones. I was like, I just throw it on the side when I was doing that mind-numbing work. So like that's kind of what I will listen to. But I've stopped because I was like I need to be more productive. Like I'm gonna have time to do something. I was like, I should be doing something else that isn't listening to these podcasts, because I was getting too into the sauce. So I've cut them out of my current media diet right now. I don't watch much TV, honestly.
Yeah, I'll have to give you a couple of ones that are half-ass educational. There's one guy that I really love. His name's Lex Friedman. He's an AI guy. He does artificial intelligence at MIT, and he's just next level brilliant. And he has all these like professors and stuff that are pushing the limits at MIT on, and just really picks their brains. And he's such a good interviewer. It's amazing. I bet you'd really like it, right? And it's one of those things where
I would for sure.
It's not. Yeah, exactly. I think it's right up your alley. I bet you will absolutely consume it like a starving man in the desert or something.
Man, when I get onto a weird little string of of an intrigue, I fucking dive head first into it. So I think if he says even anything I'm gonna get lost in the perverse.
Okay, well, I'll have to find a couple. I'll find a couple episodes to get you hooked in. Okay. Oh man, I could give you so many rabbit holes of podcasts. Just because I think me and you are so similar in so many ways that I think we what I like would be what you like, especially if like your mom's house. That's so funny to hear you say that. If I had to guess like one comedian's podcast that would be right up your alley, that's probably the one I would go. So it's so funny that's the one you found.
That's the only one I ever really listen to regularly. That's the only one I watch regularly. Yeah.
Oh, the other one that I bet I know you don't need it, but Flagrant 2, if you want to see somebody push the limits in a different way, it's the same kind of limit pushing that your mom's house does, but just a different type of humor. Flagrant 2, they're out in New York. This guy named Andrew Schultz, he's the best comedian I think going right now. He's a young kid, he's up and coming, and he put he tried to get his special on Netflix and stuff, and no one would give him any shots at it. So he just said, fuck it, I'm going to put all my stuff out on YouTube, and just started releasing his stand-up on YouTube and all these clips and stuff. And he's grown, and they're huge now. Like he just kind of set the model, and now everybody's kind of following his method, but he's grown like in the last 2 years, he's eclipsed like all his competition. He's huge now, and just like still pushes all the fucking limits. They have the biggest comedy Patreon in the world. Like they make like $10,000 a month just on their Patreon, because if their regular podcast pushes the limit, the Patreon, they go fucking buck wild. And it's the funniest shit. Like not very intelligent or, you're not, but, and that's the thing. Maybe I feel like that's the thing. You do learn a lot from it, but you learn a lot, but it's couched in so much humor that it doesn't feel like you're learning, but you do learn a ton about it, right?
You're learning like, it's even like on your mom's house, like they're talking. It's not exactly educational, but you're learning other people's experiences, and you kind of learn, I don't know, vicariously through that, but it's like, I don't know, hearing other people's stories, you're like, oh man, like there's so many other people who live different lives than me. I'm like, that's pretty cool. It's just finding out that like, I know everyone lives a different life than me. Not everyone lives like I do, but it's kind of that reminder that's like, oh right, like I could do anything in the world right now if I really wanted to. Like I could pack up all my things and move to Thailand right now, currently, if I wanted to. It's like you kind of forget that sometimes. You kind of get lost in your own rhythm and doing everything you do day to day. Well, it's funny that you say that. I mean, because like that's one of the biggest things that I got out of the podcast was that I can do anything, because I love podcasts so much. I was so into all these different kinds of podcasts that I would sit there and fantasize of different ways that like these crazy scenarios in my head where I'd luck into an audience to start a podcast because I wanted to, but I never had the guts to. But listening to all those podcasts and just hearing that so reinforced all the time of you can do whatever you want, it just eventually it sinks in, and eventually it reached critical mass, and I decided just to start it. And that was one of the biggest things that I did get out of it was that exact thing. And honestly, I got to commend you for that. This is a tough thing to just try and jump into too. Like,
it's been fun.
It's gotta be right. And like, oh man, that's so like good for you, man. Because that is tough. Like I like I said, you can realize you can do anything you want, but then to actually go out there and do anything you want is a completely different game.
So, but that's a thing. But in saying that, Evan, just like you say, you can't go play the what if game. But I learned so much through work, and it wasn't like you say, it wasn't everything for me, and it's not in that vein of what we kind of discussed right at the start about what you'd want to do. But I learned so many lessons and learned how to be around people that I think I wouldn't have been ready to start a podcast. I wouldn't have all the skills that I needed to start this. It was almost like I was incubating, and I needed to listen to all those podcasts and see all these different styles of how to do it and take all that in, and also through work, realize how to work with people and do all those things and how to make money and how to like bring business acumen to this side, that it all came just at the right time, right? Like if I would have started it a couple months before, I don't think I would have been as ready as I was at that time. So it all worked out just perfectly. It's funny how things work out like that. Hey?
Yeah, no, it is. No, I hear you.
Awesome. Well, that's I don't want to keep you all night. I already kept you all the way till the dark, and you couldn't even see in your room. And
couldn't even see anything. No, I'm glad you let me turn the lamp on. That was nice.
keep you in the dark there. Yeah, but honestly, can't thank you enough. As soon as I started this podcast, there's a couple people, and I know I've said this about a bunch, but I had a pretty big list going before I even recorded the first episode of people I knew I had to have on, and you were one of them. And I know you'll be a guest on here many times over. And when you do finally start that business, whatever it is, like you say, I'll be there to promote it and make sure that whatever 6 people listening to this here, they'll be hearing about your business too.
Okay, perfect. No, that sounds good. No, I was happy to. You know what? I'm happy just to shoot some shit with you, honestly.
Yeah, it's nice to catch up, and as soon as I get that PC built, you're gonna fucking give me a couple lessons, and I'm
gonna teach you how to play a little bit of League of Legends. Okay. We're gonna get real good at it. Promise.
All right.
And then we'll play some Among Us too.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll like that game.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be pretty good at that one.
I think you'd be pretty good at that.
That's right up my alley.
A damning situation.
Yeah, I think my all-time Settlers of Catan record is probably like 18-2. So I'll fucking I'll take that any day. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna have to play that too.
Okay, deal. Sounds good.
All right, thanks, Evan.
Yeah, I'll talk to you later.
All right, see you, bro.
Bye.
All right, another one in the books. Thanks everybody for listening the whole way through. Like I said in the intro, if you guys could help pass this along to anybody here that you might enjoy it, whether it's this episode or an episode in the past, try and if you could do me a favor, that's the biggest thing that helps these podcasts grow is just word of mouth. So if you could pass them on, find an episode that somebody listens to. If you ever hear it mentioned, hey, I listen to podcasts. Hey, drop my name in there. Throw the VonDubCast out there. And can you give me a follow on the old Instagram, the old Twitters? What else? And that job I kind of mentioned in the intro for the solo podcast. Just give me any feedback on that. I'd really appreciate it. Other than that, thanks for being here one more week, and I'll see you guys on the next one.